Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we talk about all the latest in pop culture news, TV and movie reviews, gaming news, and just general conversations of the day. For those who don't know me, I'm Price of Reason, and as usual, I have my co host here with me, Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Doing all right. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel for for this semester, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing for me. Anyone who's ever been in school, you know what it's like for as a student. Faculty feel the same way. we we can see the light at the end of that semester coming, so it's a nice feeling. How have you
Yes,
been, Price?
I've been okay. It's been kind of an exhausting day for me as well, but we will not take that out on our audience and we'll try to
Mhm.
hang out and entertain them as best as we can. I see some good people here in the chat. I don't know if you're familiar with DJ Play Nice, but he likes writing "wee"
We
anytime you see
yes.
him. So, yes, it's nice to see you here. Thanks for hanging out with us.
He's got the devil horns. Rock on. He's got hang 10. Yeah. All
Rock and
right.
roll, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, we're here just so you know. The Night Owl is sort of a Rumble powered show. Our headquarters is here on Rumble, but we're on a bunch of different platforms. And if you're watching this on Rumble and you're watching through the app, you should sign up because it's free and then follow us and then click on notifications so that you always get notified when we stream and we can hang out together forever. And then, in addition to that,
Forever and
forever.
ever and ever.
I'm like the cable guy or whatever that movie
Oh,
was.
well,
I'm
I
like,
was doing the twins from The Shining.
oh, okay. The Shining is
You
good
can
too.
stay with us forever
Forever.
and ever.
So we have that. And of course, if you're on another platform, you're watching this, definitely subscribe and do a like and whatever you can. Uh, you know, sometimes people send us some super chats and stuff, and we always appreciate it. But equally as great, we also appreciate just people hanging out with us and supporting us in any way, even if it's with like a follow and like. And yeah, it's a great evening to be hanging out with all these wonderful people. And there's certainly
Mhm.
a lot of stuff going on in the world.
Yeah. What do you think about that change to the to the Max name, Price?
It's so stupid. I mean, I was telling Tom before, I think it was Tom and Script and a few and Nick, and I'm trying to think who else, and Six. Uh, I was telling them before that I bet you that there was like a company that they paid money to. There's probably a company that they
Oh,
gave them
gotta be.
millions of dollars to help them with their branding. And some guy like took their millions and did a presentation, wore a nice suit, did like a PowerPoint, and then he just said, I want to show you the name that you're going to use moving forward, HBO Max. And for him telling Zaslav that they were dumb to abandon that brand, he probably got millions of dollars, which is sad because I could have told him that from day one, from
Oh yeah.
before the rebranding. He could have given me half those millions. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
For
Instead of millions, maybe give me 1 million.
Yeah,
Now,
so for those who don't remember or haven't heard this yet, so yeah, originally it was just HBO, and then they had HBO Now. That was their service that they had where you could watch HBO online, which was really sweet. And then after the mergers and buyouts and Warner Brothers and everybody moving in and AT&T buying them and whatever, then it became HBO Max for quite some time, and then they decided they were going to get rid of the HBO part and just call it Max. That was 2 years ago, and now they're going back to calling it HBO Max, which everyone initially said was an extremely dumb idea because the HBO in HBO Max, that was actually the valuable part. People were actually attached to HBO and had feelings for HBO as a creator of content, and to just erase that, it was ridiculous.
ridiculous. Murrockstra asks, wasn't it already called HBO Max? Yes, it was called that, and then they
Yep.
decided it wasn't good, so they changed it to Max. And then they, like I said, they paid somebody millions of dollars. That person told Zaslav, "Listen, HBO Max is better," and they went back to HBO Max. And the truth is, HBO was the thing that you didn't want to let go of because if you built a
Yeah.
brand like that over tens of years of like quality shows, you want to hold on to that brand Max didn't mean anything. Max kind of reminded you that maybe once there was Cinemax or something. I don't know what you were thinking when you
Yeah,
thought of
no, it was
Max.
so dumb. HBO had a brand that went back way more than just 10 years. I
Right,
remember HBO as a kid. Like, that was awesome. I had my well, I've said before, like, growing up, we were pretty poor. We had cable, but we only had, like, basic cable in our house, and only really because we couldn't get antenna television where we lived. And so, we just really had the basic cable most of the time. We didn't have these extra stations like HBO, but I had some family that did, and the HBO, and like you could watch like whole movies without commercials in them and stuff. Like it had this great branding to it, and they had the I remember the old theme song from the 1980s, right? Like it was a really interesting brand, and it had a legacy to it. And of course, there were all of these productions that had HBO attached to them, including like just recently things like Game of Thrones, right? And so it
right.
was such a dumb idea to ditch that, and hilarious that, yeah, now they're going back because they realized that the branding Max was a bad idea. So yeah, 2 years. I don't know what they paid some marketing guru 2 years ago to tell them to switch it over and get rid of HBO, but obviously they've learned they've learned the error of their ways, and hopefully somebody got fired because that was just a terrible idea.
So stupid.
Yeah,
I've been trying.
I just thought that was such a funny, ridiculous thing that they that happened over the last couple days.
So I wanted to show you something. It's interesting that you said that before we start digging in. There were a few types of different cable boxes back in the day,
Oh, yeah.
and I believe that at least at some point I had something that resembled more this thing. Um, Now I want to say something. You were
Oh, got a
talking about
presentation mode. I got
presentation mode. I want to say you were talking about your family and about not having HBO. I initially, I remember watching a TV that just had that kind of circle thing without this separate box.
oh, we
Oh, it's not.
still can't see it.
Still can't
Yeah,
see it.
there you
Okay,
go. There we go. Yeah, oh,
so
yeah, we had one way back when, yeah.
so initially, I didn't even have this. You had on the TV this kind of circle thing that flip, and there's like
Oh, yeah,
13
sure.
channels. That's before we had cable. I told you before that I did live as a kid. I lived in California for a few years, and then we moved to the East Coast. And in New York, I guess at that time you had to get cable. I don't know exactly what happened, but at that juncture, you needed to like the regular TV thing. I don't know why, but people were getting this cable box. Now, in my family, we didn't end up getting initially those kind of fancy ones that you pay all these additional fees for these kind of premium channels. All we got was like really, really basic cable. It was still more than anything I knew from the 13 channels. Now I had like 20 something channels or whatever it was. And it's like, when you're a kid, and usually, I don't know if you remember this, there were times that initially there was only like CBS, NBC, and ABC were the main channels, and then maybe you had a few others that showed some reruns, but there were 13 channels on your TV. Maybe you could play around with the UHF, like we
That
said,
was
like
all we
that
had.
bottom thing. There's like an additional circle
Oh,
you can play
price
around with.
drop out on us.
Can you hear me, Professor? I don't know if you can
Oh,
hear me or I
oh,
can't hear you.
oh, there can you hear me now?
I can
I
hear you, but I
Yeah,
didn't know if you
I
could hear
think
me.
we both might have, I'm watching the YouTube stream. I think we both might have dropped out there for a sec. Might have been something on the Rumble side. Uh,
Tracy Alexander, nice to see you here. I wasn't sure it was around in the 70s. I would have guessed late 70s, though. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that initially I only thought that there was 13 channels, or there were only 13 as far as I knew, and then you had the UHF, the bottom circle thing that you could play around and find other things if you had an antenna. But when
oh,
we
yeah.
moved to New York, I don't know what was going on in the city then. You had to get the cable box. And initially, we only had the basic cable. So it was additional channels, 20 something channels, amazing compared to the channels I had before. But
Mhm.
still, I didn't get the premiums. And the way that I learned about the premiums is actually I had a friend that I visited, like these were family friends. And when I went to his house, he had this box. And this box, apparently, from what I remember, one
Mhm.
one of the things that we pressed here, he had HBO. And the great thing is that he had HBO and they were showing Raiders of the Lost Ark. and I'd never seen that. I'd never seen it. The first time I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark was on HBO through this something that looks like this box, and he put it on, and like you said, there's no commercials. You could tell it's a movie like the kind that you would see in the theater, but you're watching it on TV, and
Mhm.
it's not a VCR, which at that early point I don't think I had yet. So this was like the world, you know what I mean? Like I can't explain to you how exciting this is. Today, everybody goes online, they click a few buttons, you can see whatever movie, whatever show you want. It's like it's nothing. But during those days, it wasn't nothing. And as a kid, this is like the coolest thing that can happen. And that's the association I have with HBO, that I learned that there's a station called HBO that's showing these movies that were just in the theater. That was amazing. And, Tom was showing this earlier. They had this big intro, this whole song and, intro. It looked so great. It sounded great. And it was like an event. And I feel like over the years, they've totally taken for granted this great brand uh, and spoiled it.
Oh, yeah. If you share my screen, this might be the same thing, Tom. This is what I remember from the '80s. Was this? Can you hear the sound?
Yes. I even love the graphics, honestly.
Yeah, they're great. They're excellent. This was in like '83, '84 when they started
Fantastic.
using
I
it.
like it better than most of the crap they make today. I would take that opening. That's like
Yeah,
I don't know how to
it's
explain it
brilliant.
to you. Today you have like all the AI and graphics and VFX in the world. There's something kind of charming about what you just showed, that even with all the technology today, it doesn't quite capture it. And I don't really know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's just not it's not the same. And like I said, there's just so much history sort of just connected to that to that brand of HBO. It's so weird for them to change that. You're showing that cable box, or that actually I remember a cable box very similar to that that we didn't have. We had one, and I can't really find pictures of it, but it did have a remote, but it was a remote that was attached by a phone cable, like a little phone line.
I think I know what you mean. I didn't
So
have a remote.
it would stretch out pretty far, and it just had there were two different kinds. So my grandparents had one, we had a different one. So the one we had was just numbers. It was just a number pad that you could put in the numbers for all the different channels. And then there was another one, and it's not exactly the same thing, but it looked very similar to this. I can share it here. um where this was something like my grandparents had, where you would have just all the channels just had buttons.
Ah,
So
interesting.
there were no numbers to type in, and there were just pictures on this,
I
and it
see.
was literally the one that they had was probably it was probably 6 by 8, the way it was laid out. It was just this huge rectangular box that had this phone wire that
I
ran out of it.
remember I
But yeah,
remember seeing something like this. I remember seeing it. It's awesome though. I mean, but this one really left an impression on me, because this is the way I watched Indiana Jones. I mean, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
yeah, yeah.
No, now
Yep.
then,
Now I remember the reason I remember Price, the reason I remember that HBO intro is so fondly. Uh, as I said, did not have a lot of money growing up. Most of the recordings of movies that we had around that we could watch were recorded off TV, and I had my recording for many years. The recording that I had of The Empire Strikes Back was from. Do you remember they used to do preview weekends when they would let you have premium channels for
okay,
free?
okay, okay. It's great you said that, because what would happen is that when they had the preview, which I never had the premium channel. When I had the preview premium weekend, I would go and buy a bunch of video cassettes, a bunch
Yes.
of them, and I would
Yes.
sit there day and night. Any movie, I don't even care what it is. If I've seen it, I haven't seen it, whatever this HBO for the 48 hours or whatever it is that they gave us, that they showed movies, I recorded every single one of them.
Yes.
Every
Yeah.
single movie they showed, that's all I needed to do, and it was like a family engagement. Everybody knew. We all had to put it on, and really, there's not even a situation that you can do it with timers because whatever movie was on, we're recording it. Even if it's like I didn't hear of it, because back then we didn't have internet. We couldn't check, is this a good movie? Is it a bad movie? I don't care. Preview, it's
Yeah.
on HBO, we're recording it.
We had that recording of The Empire Strikes Back that we got off a preview weekend on HBO. We got we had, I think it was Romancing the Stone. I think it was one that my mother
Yes.
wanted. We recorded that off of the HBO preview weekend. There were some others that we got preview. I think we had a copy of the Disney Robin Hood from a Disney preview weekend that we so that was yeah, that was the cable boxes back in the day. That's what you did. Yeah, you waited for those preview weekends to pop up, and you'd record as many films as you could, so you had them to watch later.
It's funny because in that sense, my family was the same way. My parents weren't gonna pay for that HBO thing.
Yeah,
Even I said, "Oh, my friend has it," or whatever. I don't know what it cost back then, but they were not into the HBO thing, and they didn't wanna pay it. We didn't have HBO, we don't nothing that was considered a premium channel, we didn't have any of it. I
yeah.
will say that at some point we did have, like, a VHS, like a VCR, but that was okay. They allowed that. Maybe there was a library in the area, you could, like, go this is even before Blockbuster, you could go and get,
Oh
like,
yeah.
they didn't have, like, chains necessarily or big chains from what I remember, they were just, like, a local video store, but, man, you know what? There's a certain charm, like with the HBO's opening, like with these boxes, like with the way we felt. There's a certain charm to it that people today that are growing up today will not have that
No,
feeling.
it's just everything is just a click away, right?
They
You
take
just
it for granted.
you
They
just
take it
open
for
up
granted.
go subscribe to that streaming service, and you can go watch whatever. It's like we didn't have that, right?
No,
Like
we had to wheel and deal, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, if you had that Empire Strikes Back, that was like now you have an asset, and you go
yeah.
and you find another guy that maybe he has a video cassette that you didn't have. Sometimes you trade. Sometimes I had a situation where I took my VCR and a friend brought another VCR, and we brought a bunch of tapes, and we'd copy tapes. You know what I'm saying? So that we
Oh yeah,
both have
yeah.
tapes. These were things that happened back in those days. That happened with music too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, oh, yeah.
You
There
you
were
had the
I had friends that had bootlegs of bootlegs of bootlegs.
the
They
double
would get
cassette.
from all sorts of places. Yeah, all on cassettes. Yeah.
The greatest invention of the '80s is the double cassette. You know, the
Yep.
double cassette player? You
Oh,
put
yeah.
one cassette, some friend's like, "Oh, I have this thing." You put it in there, and like you said, he may have gotten it from somewhere else. You may have, like, a 5th generation that you're recording from somebody that recorded from somebody, and you don't care. As long as those speakers play that thing same with the VHS. You may be copying a copy of a copy. It may look like crap, the quality, but if it's a movie that you like, that is your movie. You will accept whatever it is that you have there. People today, they're like, "Oh, it's not HD enough. I think that I see a pixel here." It's like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
and you were
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about, you tell me sometimes about a black and white. One of
Oh,
our
yeah.
our early TVs was something like this.
Oh, yeah, I had one almost I would say nearly exactly like that. I think it was even a Panasonic, except it had wood grain instead of the the white around the sides. It was wood grain looking plastic.
So this is like a TV that, I feel like one of the first things I ever remember seeing on a TV is that I turned this on, and I remember this memory, and I saw, like, the Starship Enterprise. It was Star Trek, and I remember Spock with the ears and all that stuff. It was on a TV like this. This is me really, really young, and it's an
Mhm.
early memory,
Oh, yeah.
and maybe that's it stuck with me. And yeah, back in the day, you didn't sit around and say, "Oh, it's in black and white. I can't watch it." As long as this thing is has a speaker and it's showing some images, you'll watch it. You'll watch if this is all you have available at that moment, you're going to watch whatever it is. And you're not going to sit around and complain either.
Oh yeah, man. In the late '80s, we did have cable. We moved into a house, and there was a cable hookup in my room, and we hooked it up, and yeah, all I had was the black and white set. But yeah, to you turn it on, it's like, oh, Nick at Night, baby, yeah, I'll watch this black and white. Half the shows are in black and white. Who cares?
like I said, during those days, as long as there was something to watch, you watched it. They
You
also had
did.
like a pocket. I never really had those, like these kind of Watchman, where it's like a Sony little TV.
Oh, yeah, the
Those
little
were
pocket TVs. Yeah, I had a friend that had one of those. Yeah.
I never had one. I recently found one. It's a really long story. I found one that's like still kind of, but I don't even know how to watch anything on it because I think it's trying to find like analog channels and
But yeah,
with
it's
today's
probably looking
digital.
for old VHS, channels, and they
Right.
don't even work anymore.
Maybe with a converter. I don't even it's not really worth the time. I'm just out of curiosity and it's like a little black and white one from Sony, but I didn't have that when it was around. The thing that I did have, and then we'll jump into some other topics because people are like, "What are these people talking about?" Uh, but this is the night owl. On the night owl, we sometimes meander in different places. So there were watch. I want to show you. You can tell some jokes. Meanwhile, I want to show you the type of watch that I had, if I can find it. I think
I
this
was
is
just
it.
gonna
Something like
show this because this is what, almost exactly what my grandfather had that he would use to watch football games when the family was together and not everyone wanted to watch football or whatever, so he could watch his football game. He would have this.
I have one. I actually have one that's pretty
The
new, and but
Yeah,
I'm saying I didn't have it then. I recently found one in some attic situation. It's a really long story. It wasn't mine, but
yeah,
I have it today. I don't know what to do with it because there's really nothing
yeah.
I
It doesn't
can
do
do with it.
much.
But I do have one, so I'm just keeping it as sort of a collectible. After I got it, I looked and it said it was like worth $50 online. So I'm not going to sell it. I guess I'll just hold on to it. But what I wanted to show you that I thought was cool was this. I had something like this back in the day. I don't know if it
Oh
was this
yeah.
company or a different one, but let me tell you something. This was the coolest thing in the world. You could put a headphone inside your watch, and then the watch on that dial that you see there on the bottom right, you could listen to radio on your watch. Now, I'm not sure
Hmm.
if it even had FM radio. I think probably only had AM or whatever it is. But for me, this was the best thing that ever happened. I was so excited about this watch. Can't tell you what a treat it was for me that I could actually listen to radio on the watch. You think today's smartphone, that was the equivalent of having a
Yeah.
smartphone. I could walk outside, I had the radio on me, I could listen to music. The world was a different place, but I the one thing I'll say is that I think at the time you appreciated movies more, you appreciated music more, because getting new music and getting new movies and getting all of that, it was a different process than it was today, which already made you appreciate it more. Now, I think that that's part of a problem that nobody notices, that with all this streaming and all these opportunities and all the Spotify and all these things, people just don't appreciate what they have. It's such an overload that this whole idea of creating something and entertaining people has become sort of taken for granted. I think.
Yeah. That's great. That's
Just
really
my
cool. Yeah, that's really funny because I had seen. I suppose you've probably seen Tech Moan on YouTube, right? It's a pretty popular channel.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
He's a British guy. He reviews technology and stuff. So recently he did a video. Is just I think it was last month. He did a video where he was looking at credit card radios. So instead of in your watch, they were tiny little credit card sized radios. Took little button cells to run on them. He was talking about how he had one of those when he was a when he was a kid. Felt like he was James Bond.
Yeah, I mean it was cool. The watch thing was pretty cool too, and I had this watch.
That's neat.
And there was another thing. There was once something that I don't know if it was something like you put it a clip that you put on your ear that's like a headphone, but also a transistor at the same time. Now, this may seem like the dumbest thing ever to you now, but when I got that as a gift, that there it you couldn't give me a better gift. That like I just clip it on my ear and it's a radio. like an all-in-one. It's a radio and a headphone.
Mhm.
Anyhow,
Yep.
speaking
I
of radios,
yeah, I
Trump
was
was in the Middle East.
oh, yeah. I was gonna address, Empress NM in the chat says, "Does anyone ever have the remote control watch that Casio made?" Yes, actually, I did. Marks 47 also mentioned the Casio data banks, the little, calculator watches. Yes, I did have one of those. I had friends that had one of those, but no, I had a friend that had that remote control, watch that could do the infrared stuff, and yeah, he would, like, mess with the classroom TVs and stuff, like, turn them on during class, mess with the teachers. Yeah, so
Elizabeth Quinn says the Night Owl nostalgia episode. That's
hey,
right.
you know, what's nostalgia for if not to enjoy it? So, hey.
And I had a calculator, I think by Casio, that also played poker. I don't
Oh,
know if
yeah, yeah.
now it was very primitive, and the thing is that it had sort of a very repetitive program. So I managed to sort of crack like his patterns, so I could always win in poker. Seriously, because I guess like at that time there was only a
Nice.
limited type of like games or patterns of games that it knew.
Sure, yeah.
So in some odd way, instead of the computer being like much smarter than me, I kept beating him at poker, which was weird because I knew all of his next moves. That was very very
Oh, boy.
interesting
Yeah.
as a kid. Anyhow, speaking of
Trump, Middle East.
Trump was in Middle East. Yeah, I mean, listen, there hasn't been too much. I feel like this whole week, just like was almost like a repeat of itself. He arrives in some Middle Eastern country. Everybody rolls out like the royal carpet, whatever it is. Everybody tells him how great he is, and he's walking around with like some shakes and stuff. And I feel like that kind of it kind of repeated itself. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. It just seems like it's a lot of the same. But I did see one post that I thought was I don't know. To me it was hilarious. It basically was saying, hey, this is what it means to be respected. And people were like, huh? What? And it just showed the video, and it showed that Mohammed bin Salman, the head of Saudis over there, walking behind Trump. Trump was in front the whole time. And it was like, yeah, I get what they're saying. Like, that's what it means to be respected. Like, he is following behind Trump instead of walking in front of him. I mean, that
I'll tell you what.
seems like a small thing, but in their society, it's bigger than you think.
No, I don't think it's small at all, but I just want to say One Dirty Bird says 20 minutes behind catching up at 1.5. That's great. And he gave a $2 Rumble rant. Thank you very much, One Dirty Bird. That is very,
Appreciate
very,
it.
very much appreciated.
Yeah.
Uh,
So in 20 minutes, 30 minutes when you catch up.
and
Thanks a
and
lot, One Dirty Bird.
I want to actually tell you something about what you just said. The thing with these kind of Arab countries or whatever you want to, Middle Eastern countries, the one thing that they understand that like appeals to them and speaks to them is like more of a strong and confident male leader that like goes around and has a certain way of carrying himself, one that's even considered, I know this is going to sound strange to them, a guy who's kind of unpredictable and just does whatever he wants. That's the kind of person that they respect. They're in their culture, some guy that's all like wearing like a fancy dress, or he looks like he's sleeping, or you know what I mean, all these like pronouns, all that stuff, like it seems weak to them. They To them, like a guy that has this reputation that he just like is unpredictable and could get really upset and do crazy things, that's the type of guy that they respect. You could say that it's strange, but that's just the way it is, you know what I mean? uh, for them, and then I think a lot of times when you see all these kind of people here in the US, especially like hard far left or whatever, they complain about certain things happening in the Middle East. I think that they don't understand the culture and the mentality there, and they don't understand some of these countries and states and places, what they consider leadership, and uh what is considered respect in their eyes. It doesn't
Mhm.
surprise me that Trump went to all these places and they treated him with more respect than if Biden would go there. Biden to them looked like an older, confused, bumbling guy that's not gonna score points with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, their
Oh, no.
culture, that
Not
kind
at
of
all.
doesn't work there. They need a guy that, like, if there's a guy that they generally are, I almost say, like, are a bit worried what he's gonna do, and they're not sure, and he kind of seems like he's kind of, you know what I'm trying to say. He speaks
Mhm.
his mind and does a bunch of things, and they don't know how to anticipate it. That's the kind of thing they respect.
Absolutely. Yeah, and, there's been some interesting stuff here. Let me see. Somebody mentioned it here in the chat. See if I can find it here. Uh, well, anyway, there was some, there was a few different things that, had come out about this. One was actually, had you heard the previous, special envoy to Iran, who served under Biden, who was, basically, in some ways kind of, off to, sort of offhanded, comments about what Trump has been doing, but also complimenting, basically saying that, let's see, what did he? I'll get the quote here. He said, "This was Rob Malley. He was a special envoy to Iran under Biden." He says, "I wish I could work for an administration that moved that quickly. It's hard to not simultaneously be terrified at the thought of the damage he could cause with that power, and awed by his willingness to brazenly shatter so many harmful taboos." Like, just say, like, look, he walked over there and he shook people's hands and he talked to them and he made demands and said, "Hey, do this, do that, whatever. You know what? We'll get rid of these, with all these, sanctions that we have on you, Syria. Just sign the Abraham Accords, normalize relations with Israel. Like, do that, and we'll get rid of all this stuff, right?" And they did it. And some people just absolutely floored by all the stuff that he's been getting away with, or not even getting away, but just able to do.
I mean,
Uh,
I can only hope that the things that he's trying to do will stick, and good things will happen. I will say that, regardless of the respect being shown and them showing him respect, some of those countries themselves are unpredictable, and you never know what's going to happen. But I at least understand his approach, that he's saying, "Listen, we've tried all these other approaches over the years. Why don't we just go there and just try to, they show us respect, we showed them respect. Maybe we can reach some deals." That's what his policy is. People joining the Abraham Accords and trying to create a more peaceful environment. I'm not against that. I hope that works, but I guess time will tell. We'll see it. What he can pull off. And with Iran, I that's probably the biggest worry there, because I don't know if they'll agree to disarm themselves from all that kind of nuclear stuff, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. So here's what I was looking for here. Share it. So he's been, part of this trip. He's been in the, United Arab Emirates, and so you know that, one of the world's tallest buildings. I believe it is still the tallest building, for now. The Burj Khalifa that's there in Dubai. They lit it up in American colors.
Yes, I put it on our thumbnail. Whoever's
Yeah,
watching this video
yeah.
can look at the thumbnail, and there is that Burj Khalifa thing on our thumbnail.
So yeah,
Listen,
pretty wild. They don't do that.
no, no,
That's not something that, just anybody comes to town and they light this thing up. It's,
it's a combination of a few things. Like I
yeah,
said, in their world, the way that Trump is and his behavior, that here people are like, "Oh, he's insane." That's kind of the kind of thing that they actually respect, and the fact that he came there and he did it in a way that seemed more like not condescending. They appreciate those kind of gestures, and it doesn't surprise me that they sort of reciprocated. Showing this kind of respect. It doesn't surprise me, but with all that being said, I really hope that all these meetings and these deals and everything that he's cooking will end up being like a benefit for the whole region, including Israel, including everybody there. I think people really aren't interested in wars. I mean, we've had recently a lot of stuff. We've had Middle East issues. We've had all that Russia Ukraine thing. If there's a way to sort of uh, lower the amount of all these kind of conflicts, or make some of them go away. I don't think
Mhm.
there's anything inherently wrong with that, but time will tell what'll be the results. If this trip will just be some kind of diplomatic, like everybody says hi to each other and shows respect, and nothing happens, or if this is something that over time we will actually see results like out on the field. And I have to give it some time to see what'll happen, but generally speaking, I think that if you wanted to go to the Middle East and, reach out to some of these places, I think you did fine
Yeah. I think I
from his
genuinely
perspective, I assume.
I think it's been a very, very successful trip, and, I think a lot of people have been well, not Democrats. They hate absolutely everything Trump does, doesn't matter, but, I think a lot of people in the US and especially around the world have been extremely impressed with what he's, managed to accomplish during this trip. Not that there's not going to be, people who do have some legitimate criticisms of, that we talked about the plane thing on Tuesday, and maybe there's some details of how some of these different deals were done, and or who's getting what accommodations and stuff like that. But in general, I think right now it's being viewed as a very, very positive thing, not just for his administration, but for the U.S. and the Middle East as well.
I will say this, that if he can get the Syrians to join the Abraham Accords, that would be actually significant. That would be good. We have yet to see how all of this will play out, because
Yeah.
there's still a lot of crazy things happening over there in the Middle East, and like I said, trying to do something or trying to make change or whatever, these aren't bad things, but we'll know more in the future. We'll see how some of these things pan out. That's the best I can say at this time, but
Hmm.
it is what it is. And Maraxer says Disney will drop the Alphabet Soup group like a hot potato when they show up in the UAE. And you know what? I want to show you guys something. It wasn't on the thumbnail. It came out later on during the day, I think, after I already posted the thumbnail. Now, this is something that I saw it and it really, really annoyed me. It's not the first time, because uh, we've seen situations like this before. But let me show you something that I tweeted. Maybe you saw this, Professor. I'm going to show this right now. So, Pedro Pascal today, there was some kind of announcement that I guess he joined, like, the likes of Mark Ruffalo and some other weirdos in signing some kind of letter that he's like pro Gaza and anti Israel and all this stuff. And I
Ugh.
wrote that I'm sure Disney will probably fire him and publicly humiliate him like they did with Gina Carano, right? And of course, this is a rhetorical question. Some people are answering, no, they won't do that ever. I know they won't do I know they won't fire him, but I'm just saying, like, it's so strange that this guy, who everything that started with Gina Carano, by the way, had to do with all these pronouns and LG stuff, and because he has a brother who became his sister.
Yeah, I do believe that was,
There was something
what
going on in
happened.
his family, and he's signing letters and he's pro this and anti that. Let me tell you something. If he shows up with his brother, is it a brother that's a sister, a sister that's a brother? I
I
don't even know.
believe it's a brother that's a
If he
sister. Yeah.
shows up with his sister in Israel, nothing's gonna happen to them. Everybody he'll be like, he can wear his like purple dress or whatever he likes walking around like Pedro, and he can go with his brother, sister, whatever it
And
is.
his shirt that says "Save the dolls" or
Save
whatever.
the dolls. Whatever it is, he can walk around and everybody will just be like, "Hey, what's up?" And like he'll walk around and nobody will do anything to them. Whereas if he goes to Gaza, this thing that he just signed a letter of how much he loves them and how much, like, it's the best place on earth and all that, whatever. He and his brother or sister don't stand a chance there. You know what I mean? They're the exact type of people that would be targeted just for you know their preferences or whatever you want to call it. They would not be well received there.
Mhm.
So the hypocrisy of this guy, they went after Gina Carano because she did beep bop boop in her profile, whereas this guy is basically endorsing and, like, cozying up to like a place that would want him dead for that very reason. So Gina Carano Bebop Boop, that's like a terrible thing. That's like an atrocity. She has to be humiliated publicly and has to be the end of the world for her and to try to end her career. Meanwhile, this guy is like, supporting a place that doesn't want him there at all, wants him basically gone. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's really strange irony, and nobody's going to say anything about it. And I personally think that what he's doing here is a lot worse than anything. Gina Carano, at worst, you could say she used an analogy that maybe some people wouldn't agree with. Personally, I've said it from day one. When I saw her meme, I thought to myself, this isn't an analogy that I would have used. And that's where it ended. Not that I wanted her fired, not that I have anything against her. If I ran into her and she said, "Hey, what do you think of this meme? Do you like it?" I probably would have said, "Hey, you know what? I would have used a different meme." That's my personal opinion. But the fact that she used it didn't mean that her life has to be over. You know what I mean? I think that
Oh, yeah.
the extent of what they did to her was so over the top and so uncalled for. How they did this whole thing.
Yeah, no
I
question.
think I really think that there was no, she's always seemed like a very nice lady to me. Anytime
Yep.
that I've interacted with her online over the years, I've had positive interactions with her. I am a bit sad that she never followed me back on Twitter because we did interact a few times, and throughout the years, sometimes I'd even post stuff and she'd like my posts and things like that. It's just that I don't know. I guess it didn't work out. I don't know. I don't know for in what cases she would follow somebody and what she wouldn't. I guess she wasn't
Yeah.
impressed much by me, I guess. But,
Well, I know this much. The more of this stuff that Pedro pulls, and then, of course, Disney does nothing, that's just more ammunition for Gina's lawsuit against them. So,
right, I mean, the
go
thing is,
for it, Pedro.
go if I were her, I'd say, "What are you talking to me about these stupid beep bop boop thing? What do you even give a shit about that?" Sorry, Sean. This guy actually went to, to support a place that wants his own destruction. And forget about the fact that, like, the West isn't very well liked there and all this other stuff. Forget about all of that. I mean that just the kind of pronoun and stuff that he likes would not be well received there. It's just a sort of hypocrisy and irony here together. And meanwhile, Disney are not going to do anything to this guy. It's all going to be just wonderful and great. And yeah, I mean, also a lot of the times this guy and all these kind of Mark Ruffalos and whatever they are, they seem to forget also that this whole conflict that they're writing letters about and doing all this weird stuff, they always seem to omit the part of the attacks that happened on October 7th. This is always something that's kind of swept under the carpet, and
Yeah.
it's a really important part of this story. So to ignore it is strange, and to sort of not care about women's rights or people's rights or even American rights and things like that on citizens of different countries, even of the world. That none of that matters to them, and all that matters is signing these letters. Like out of all the issues in the world, sitting around and signing these letters and siding with whatever there's just a lot of hypocrisy, in my opinion.
Well, just remember, I was discussing this with someone the other day. So just remember that that people like Pedro, like many people in Hollywood, many of people on the progressive left, they have been trained, they have been taught to view the world in terms of oppressors and the oppressed. And when you are the oppressor, as they believe, the people in Israel are, if you're the oppressor, then absolutely any action that you take, even a charitable action, even something that could be beneficial to others, is just another form of oppression. And if you are the oppressed, so people who like watermelons or other different groups, if you're considered the oppressed, then every action you take is permissible because it's an act against oppression, and that includes everything from grapes to murders to killing an entire race. all of those things totally allowable and permissible because you are, quote unquote, oppressed. And so that is why that is why they are totally cool with those things. That's why they don't want to talk about October 7th and anything that happened that day, because on one side of the argument, they believe that there's some people there that are allowed to do whatever they want because they are oppressed. So
Yeah, but
that's why they will not discuss that particular day. Yeah.
I agree, but I dislike all of this kind of anti-West sentiment and all these
Yeah.
things.
Oh
And
yeah.
the other thing is that there are so many, so much misinformation, at least in my opinion, in what happens in the way the story is told with the Palestinians and everything that happened there. Now, I'm gonna surprise you and say it's not that I'm saying that I think it's good if women and children, die or something like that.
Mhm.
I do think that as best as armies can in a lot of cases, and I think Israeli army does this, is that they try to get citizens out of harm's way in a lot of cases. It's really tough in that specific situation because of some of these guys hiding within a civilian population, and war is a
Yes.
bad thing.
Yeah.
War is never a pretty thing.
No,
Uh,
it's not.
it's certainly complicated, but I think that just sitting around and writing these letters and acting like Pedro Pascal and Mark Ruffalo is really it's very kind of it's very narrow-minded. I think the way they look at stuff, and like you said, it serves it serves their agenda. And I don't like this whole anti-white, anti-oppressing, or anti whatever. You see that in the US also. The people are always like, they hate the US. The US are bad. Look what happened hundreds of years ago. There's nothing you could do with what happened hundreds of years ago. I think that people should be focusing on what's happening now. And a lot of also this stuff, that's happening over there in the Middle East. It's like, oh, what about what happened like 80 years ago? You know what? I don't know. It doesn't, at this point, whatever my opinions are, I'm even putting them aside. You know what I mean? I have a lot to say about all of that, but I'm just saying, like, at some point, you kind of got to look at what's happening now and come up with practical solutions. And I feel like there's some people there that are not really looking for any of those. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And while we've been chatting, you have received a gift from the Dead Man over on YouTube.
It was a poop sticker, I assume, for 99 cents.
How could you possibly
I
guess?
I knew it. I knew it. Elizabeth Quinn says 7 Days in Entebbe is one of the most fair films to touch on the issue. Well done. And Phantom Monk says Kami Bull. Listen, it's like I also understand that people come from different places and they have different opinions, even on a conflict like that. But seeing these kind of Pedro Pascal and Mark Ruffalo teaming up for these stupid letters, I think it's dumb. It doesn't make me like them more. Mark
Well,
Ruffalo, anytime he says anything, he seems like a complete idiot to me, and that's my opinion. And
yeah.
Pedro Pascal, like joining him on some letter, uh, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Well, I to me, Mark Ruffalo is just a joke all around. I don't think he's a good actor. I
No,
don't I don't care for a lot of the stuff that he's acted in, and I really don't give well, 2 shits, sorry, Sean, about any opinion he has. There's absolutely nothing that he's going to do that's gonna in any way influence my thinking. He's he's not even a good actor.
no, he's not a good
Why would I
actor.
care what he has to think?
He absolutely is not a good actor, and I never bought him in most roles. And like I've told you before, I don't like his Hulk either. I don't like anything. I really, if I never saw him in another movie like Mark Ruffalo, I'd be fine with that. And I really feel like I've also seen enough of Pedro Pascal in movies. Pedro Pascal has been in the past like 5 years in more movies than any actor ever. The amount of projects that this guy was in over the past 5 years. It's like I don't know an actor in Hollywood that has gotten that much work. And the thing is, if this guy was the real deal, I would tell you, you know what? I understand why they keep hiring him. He's really good. He really makes every project better. He brings so much like personality and character. He's such a fantastic actor, but I can't really say that. There have been some roles that I thought he did fine. I thought on Narcos he was fine. I think on Game of Thrones he was fine. Uh, there aren't many others. It's not like I think of him and I think, wow, this was really a breakthrough performance. And I think of some role. He doesn't even have that. He's kind of mid in every movie that I see him in. There's
Yeah.
nothing this guy does that's like way above average. He's like an average actor. If this was like, 20, 30 years ago, this guy would not be getting all of the roles. The reason why he's
Not at
getting
all,
it,
no.
I know this. I know it'll sound bad, but I think that like he's a guy that's diverse enough. But I think that Hollywood sees him as sort of diverse light, meaning he's
Oh, no.
diverse enough so they could say, "Look how diverse we are," but at the same time, not offensive enough to certain countries and states that maybe don't love diversity. I'm not talking the U.S. I'm talking like outside the U.S. He's just kind of vanilla enough to not offend anybody. You know what I mean?
Nail on the head, Price. That's exactly it. He is diverse by the American idea of diversity, right? He's diverse in that, we have this. It's kind of strange. I've actually talked to people from other countries and talked about this idea that they look at somebody and they go, he's not black, right? That
Right.
person's not black, and we have to you have to explain that in the U.S. there's this idea that they call it one drop, right? Like if you've got any history anywhere in your makeup where you have ancestry that is black or Latino or any marginalized quote unquote group, then you are part of that group. You can claim to be part of that group. But people in other countries will look at it and go, he doesn't look black to me, doesn't look, you know, Pedro is Latino. He has some Latino, background. He can pass as white in a lot of other countries. When they
Right.
look at him, they do not see, "Oh, that's someone who is Mexican or Brazilian or whatever." Like, they see
He's
someone who is
diverse light.
close enough to white that he passes as white. And yes, that sounds terrible, and it sounds like I'm saying other countries are racist. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's how different countries view that window of race, right? It's how they view that, and that there's a lot of other countries that if you look at Pedro, they're not going to say, "Oh, look at that Latino man," right? It's just not going to see that like it is seen here in America.
Like, I think also, I'm going to say something now. This is like a very controversial statement. Are you ready for it?
Go for it.
If he was called Chad Pascal, I don't think they would like him as much. I think that the name Pedro Pascal, they love that he's called. He chose the exact name they needed. You know what I'm saying? If he was called like I don't know, Nigel Pascal, I don't see him getting a role. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And he is Chilean, he's got his background from Chile. He did not go with his actual first name, which is Jose.
I see.
That would have been a little too ethnic, right?
Maybe
So
too much,
had to
but
go had to go with Pedro.
Pedro Pascal is the perfect name that he needed. It exactly works for him, and yeah, like again, this is a very dark conversation that we're having here. But I'm saying there are some people that you look at that they look like more Latino than him. I do feel that he's like
Yeah,
diverse light. It's kind of like also why they like people like The Rock or Zendaya. The Rock sort of is ambiguous in his identity or whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
and I think that that works for people because he's sort of he's not there's nothing that he's extremely all the things that make up his heritage, he's not extremely either one of them. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
yeah. Yeah.
Like, I guess he's supposed to be a combination of sort of black Samoan and I don't know what, but when
Yeah.
you look at him, he just seems like,
Yeah, he could be any of those, and that's the thing. I don't like this constant focus on race at all. I
no.
would prefer to just look at an actor, say, he's handsome or he's got character or whatever, like, there's plenty of actors out there, really top quality actors that are not particularly good looking, right? But they have some character in their face. There's something about them that is sort of attractive in a way that you're interested in seeing that person perform. And then they have skills to actually perform, to use their voice, to use their face, to use their body and actually perform. I want to judge an actor by that. I don't want to go, well, for a black man, he's pretty good, or for a Latino. I don't do that. I,
No,
I just want to see an actor. I want to see them perform and do a great job. And if you know what, if they bring somebody in, if they bring somebody in to play a role and it happens to be a black man and he does a great job, then fantastic. Now, it is extremely weird when they go through and start doing the whole race swapping thing. That bothers me. But like, if you it's just like, I've seen, films when they bring certain people in, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It didn't have to be a white man play that role. They
I
could be black. It's
personally
fine.
I think that all the stuff that we've seen in recent years has done a disservice to anybody who was considered quote unquote diverse. And I'll tell you why. Because what needed to happen, if you want to know what this is also going to be a conversation that maybe people won't agree with me, but I'll tell you what I think. I agree that for many years Hollywood themselves were gatekeepers, and in many cases maybe they could have created more roles for people in the diverse category. But it shouldn't have been something that they go talk about in the press every second and babble about every second. If they thought that they weren't being fair and weren't giving enough people opportunities, they should have just been given more opportunities when it come to casting. But instead of having something like that, it just went from, okay, uh, we don't give enough people from these categories roles. Now let's give them roles. Keep telling how everybody how we're giving them roles. Not give the other people roles and keep saying how great these people are and how terrible these people are. That's not a plan to fix something. I always say, like, two wrongs don't make a right. Uh, I think that the way to fix it is just there had to be a feeling of change that's not out in the press, that's more internal. That studios just say, listen, when we have a role, let's just look at a lot of people for it. Let's look at not the ones that are like IPs and they swapped. I mean, like, something new.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
character. Do an audition. Don't limit anybody. Audition people that are white, black, Asian, everything, and give everybody a fair chance. Let's look at their tapes. Let's look at which actor brought the most to the table. I know, it's maybe easier said than done, but the approach should have been, let's just give more people opportunities, not the thing where you start all the quotas and the DEI and the swapping and all this stuff. Because at the end, what you're doing in most of these cases is that you're annoying your customers, and it becomes some weird hypocritical game that these very people that you want to uplift, you're basically disrespecting them. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. It's quotas. It's yeah, and so it's not. It's the same thing that we've been talking about with the DEI and all this other identity politics and all this other stuff. Uh, just like when they hired Ketanji Brown Jackson for the Supreme Court. They say, Biden beforehand said, "I'm going to pick a black woman."
Yeah, I
So are you gonna? So what you're saying is, right from the start, I'm not looking for the most qualified person. I'm looking for this identity, this sex. That's what I'm looking for. And so you're automatically you're saying, I'm not picking the best person for the job. I'm picking someone based first on this identity rather than the merit that really should be deciding who ends up on the Supreme Court, which is very, very strange way to go, right? You're then saying that person who I've brought in may not be the most qualified person because I used other things to determine whether or not I was gonna pick them, which is
It reminds
strange.
me, I don't know if I talked about this last time we were on, but I'll just quickly say it. Did you see my review for Doctor Who, the last episode?
I did, yes.
So basically, and what I thought was more interesting than the episode itself was, let me see for a second. There's a few things here that bothered me, but this episode, in my opinion, was like an embarrassment. And what really the press and all the people really overlooked is the fact that Russell T Davies, the way this show happened, why was there an episode of the Doctor in Africa inside a barber shop with black people who, by the way, uh, these black people in this barber shop, according to this episode, they're always late, and it's also implied that you can't really, they're kind of not trustworthy in different ways. And the whole thing was written by a Nigerian playwright. Now, this is what you read about in the media, and what I read between the lines. I started looking at interviews. It turned out that what really happened was this Nigerian screenwriter, playwright, sorry, he saw the showrunner Russell T Davies online, and based on his agent's recommendation, he slid into Russell T Davies' DM and said to him that he's a big fan of Doctor Who, and he has an idea that he wants to pitch him for an episode. Did I tell you this, Professor?
Yeah.
I did tell you this? In
Or
any
well,
case,
I mean, I saw your review
oh, you
and
saw the
then
review. So in any
yeah.
case, what happened was is Russell T Davies, okay, I'll hear your pitch. The guy pitched him an episode. So Russell T Davies tells him, we can't do that episode. Kind of reminds me of some other things I'm working on, but I'll tell you what we can do. Why don't you write me an episode that we're in Africa with like black people in a barber shop? Why don't you write that? Now, if you really think about it, and this is my opinion, that is really, really disrespectful. Now, according to Russell T Davies, I guess the reason why he wanted to do this is because this guy once wrote a play and it had people that went to a barber shop or something like that. But the fact that he did that, it doesn't mean that because he's black, he has to write about a barber shop. This is Doctor Who. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if his
Alright.
sci-fi idea was good or not. We'll never know because he went to Russell T Davies and said, "Hey, I have this idea for a sci-fi adventure." And Russell T Davies said, "You're black. What does it take place in Africa? Are there black people in a barber shop?" Do you understand what's wrong
Yes.
here and how nobody is noticing what I think? This is
It's
what
strange.
happens when you go to the extreme of trying to be like woke and inclusive and progressive and far left and all this stuff. At the end, what do? You're insulting the guy. The guy said that he was a fan of the show and he wanted to write a sci-fi adventure. He ended up writing about some weird thing in a barber shop that didn't even feel like an episode of the show. For me, I think that's an issue, and I would feel super disrespected if I were this guy. I'm not telling him I'm not like one of those Karens. I'm not, or for reverse Karens or whatever it is. I'm not telling other people that are diverse what to feel. But looking at it from the side, the fact that at the end this episode ended up being this weird stereotypical thing that basically Russell T Davies requested that the guy write, it feels more like some kind of exploitation and less like he's honoring anybody, in my opinion. And the proof is in the pudding. This
No,
episode is
yeah.
terrible. It is one of the worst episodes of this show that I've ever seen. And I've seen some bad ones in recent years. This was really, really embarrassing.
Adam Gray wants to know if this is, the Quantum Leap reboot.
It may as well be. If you would have
It's
given that Quantum Leap reboot a few more episodes, probably
they
would
they
have
would
looked like
they
this.
would have been right here, yeah.
Would have been right here at the barber shop for sure.
Or he would have been at a Korean barbershop maybe or something. I don't
And
know.
and this is what I don't like. I mean, oh, did you actually? I showed that in picture. You saw it, right?
Yeah.
So, I guess what I'm saying is that anything that you do in an extreme and obnoxious and annoying way is not good. I don't think it was good that maybe they weren't given enough opportunities, people that were quote unquote diverse. I also don't think it's good to just, be obsessive about it like Hollywood is. Uh, just at the drop of a dime, suddenly everybody's obsessing over this. I think that's dumb too. I think there probably should be a good balance where more people are getting opportunities. And honestly, I think that before all this weird crap that we've seen in the past like 5, 6, 7 years, I think Hollywood was heading in that direction. Uh, was it perfect? Probably not. Were there people that were crappy in Hollywood? Sure. Were there people that were, doing slippery things and maybe being discriminating. I'm sure there was. I've even seen it myself. So it's not that I don't think it's possible, but I'm just saying that still the overall trend. If I'm zooming out and looking at the graph, things were moving along and they weren't moving along in a negative way. And I think that all this stuff of obsessing over people's skin colors, I think that that has only ruined, cinema.
Yeah. All of the focus on identities and race and immutable characteristics is, I mean, frankly, it's pathetic. It's sad that that's where we are. That that's the only way that we can see things. I saw characters growing up that I felt for. I started to empathize with that were not white men, right? Uh, you should not be limited. Your empathy, your ability to feel things and to feel a camaraderie with people should not be limited by their appearance, and that appearance is exactly like yours. There's been this just absurd obsession in recent years over, oh well, it has to look, we need people to be able to see themselves. It needs to look like these other people. And no, that's nonsense. You should be able to have empathy and feel for and connect with characters that don't look the same as you. And I think those types of connections mean even more because that speaks to the connection of humanity with each other more than just, oh, my racial background, right? And yeah, I have no problem with diversity. We've had plenty of diversity in lots of different media for decades that has been completely natural. We saw a lot of that in the 90s, right?
Even
We
in
s
the '80s, I
Yeah.
sometimes say this, you look at all these kind of, "Oh, it's finally a black man is doing this, finally as a black man is doing that." I grew up in the '80s where, one of the biggest stars when I think of the biggest stars of the '80s, I think the kind that you put their name in a marquee and people go watch their movies, I think of somebody like Stallone, maybe in the later '80s, Schwarzenegger, and I think about somebody like Eddie Murphy. You know what I mean? Those were names. Eddie Murphy throughout the '80s, if you put his name on a poster, people are going to go watch that movie. And they're going to watch it because of Eddie Murphy. It's hard to describe what a superstar Eddie Murphy was. And we've talked about it before here, even Mr. Pudding Pop Man, which today, is not looked upon positively and maybe rightfully so. During those years, his show was unbeatable in the ratings. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Throughout the '80s, you couldn't topple the Cosby Show. Oh, I said the Pudding Pop.
Oh, no!
Oh, no, like, that's it, I hope nothing bad happens that I said it. But I'm saying the truth. You couldn't beat that guy in the ratings for several years. That show was a powerhouse show. It had a black family. It had them, you know not presenting them. It wasn't like some of those earlier things where they did these kind of good times or whatever it is that they're trying to show them, living in poverty.
Yeah.
Whole different vibe, just a black family living their lives, and that was probably the number one show on TV for years. Okay, uh, this you didn't need that in 2017 or 2020. You didn't need riots or anything to make that happen. I think that things were happening because they were. Uh, People talk about how in the early '80s there was a struggle that Michael Jackson, Prince, Whitney Houston, those kind of artists initially getting them, or at least Michael Jackson, getting him on the on MTV that was just
Mhm.
starting there and getting him
Yeah.
videos or whatever. It was a bit tough for him in those early years. The second though, probably like in '81, '82, once he came out with like Billie Jean, Beat It, those things, the
Yeah.
doors flew open. And throughout the '80s, Michael Jackson probably in the field of music, I don't know if there was a bigger star than him in the world. So you had him dominating music, not to mention, you think about Prince, Whitney Houston, things like that. These were absolute superstars. And as opposed to a lot of this crap that we see today on the radio, those guys had talents. Now,
Oh, yeah.
sure, I understand that maybe some of those guys, they had their own demons or whatever it is, and they all of them ended their life. Their lives ended at a young age, unfortunately. But I don't think anybody can deny how talented
Yeah.
these three people that I just told you were, and everybody knew it. And the names that I just threw around, it's nothing. Throughout you had the Jeffersons. That was a show. Not only was it a show with black people, also not presenting them in a negative light. It did address a lot of stuff that had to do with like racial issues, but it did it in a way that I think everybody could sit and watch it and enjoy.
Yeah.
Whoever you were, whatever background you were, you could watch that show, and you could find something to enjoy, and it actually opened up interesting dialogues rather than just being mean spirited.
Yeah.
In
Well,
my
and then maybe you were, white, and you were sitting down watching this comedy with these black folks in it, and you're enjoying it, and then yeah, maybe it does breach something that's kind of a touchy issue, for that community, and you suddenly get people who would never have heard that, you'd never have, even thought about that, now exposed to that particular thing. And the funny thing too is, you talk about like these comedians, Price. You talk about, Pudding Pop Man, Richard Pryor.
Absolutely.
They were selling out stadiums.
He was super popular, Richard Pryor.
And
The problem with Pryor was that he had his own demons as well, unfortunately.
he did.
But I think that back in the days, and especially in the '80s, it wasn't also just exclusive for,
But
I think people that were in entertainment, there was a
yeah.
lot of partying going on in those years,
Oh,
and
of
a lot
course,
of
yeah.
wild times, and it affected a lot of people. There's a lot of people that we had during the '80s that were popular.
Yeah.
A lot of them aren't here anymore. You had that in the '90s with grunge. A lot of people were popular, and we didn't have them anymore. Even in the '70s, some big stars. I guess it comes with the territory. If you're going to live your life, with a bunch of recreational activities and crazy things that you're doing with
Yeah.
yourself, it sometimes ends in some kind of misadventure.
Yeah. Well, I was saying what I was getting to with Richard Pryor though was, he's selling out stadiums, huge venues, later in his career, and I assume you've heard some of his comedy, Price.
Of course.
uh, 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 to say it's a little racy,
No, I mean the
that it's got
guy
some
that
racial stuff in it, that it's got some sexual stuff in it. Today, that's nothing. You would not hear anybody saying some of the stuff that he says in his
no,
comedy routines from
completely
back then.
broke new ground, but completely. I also, a lot of times you watch these kind of like friar clubs roast, and you see
Oh, yeah.
some black entertainers, white entertainers, those kind of things where you see like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, a lot of like Don Rickles or whatever it is, and then you see like Mr. T and like I don't know, uh, even those kind of pudding pop, just a bunch of people. You see them all sitting there, and they are saying the craziest things to each other. They're all drunk and laughing their asses off, and
Yeah.
there's like they are like they're saying stuff today that people would have meltdowns over, and they are just like taking the piss or whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
and they don't care.
Mm-mm.
And there's something about that we don't see anymore, and I don't think we're better for not seeing it. I think that sometimes through humor you can actually highlight the difference between different groups of people, and maybe there's a way to sort of have people think about certain things and learn certain things, and even accept certain things, and to do it while everybody's laughing. I think that has a lot of value to me.
Yeah,
And yes,
it
Elizabeth
does.
Quinn's Coming to America, wonderful movie, one of my favorite Eddie Murphy
It's
movies,
still great, yes.
still great. And
The sequel, not so
nah,
much.
listen, I think that Eddie Murphy in the past 10 years, he decided to go and do a little bit of check collecting. Amazon said, "Hey, here's $20 million, to your pocket. Can you put
Yep.
together some production for Coming to America too?" So he took the minimum $20 million, maybe even more. So sure, here you go, here you go. He wanted to the thing, maybe it was 30, maybe it was 50. Who knows? He gave them the movie. It's not a very good movie, but he gave it to them. Same thing with Netflix and Beverly Hills Cop 4. It's like, here's tens of millions of dollars. Can you do something with Beverly Hills Cop? Sure, I can. And that's what we got. He collected the checks. I mean, the truth is, he may look very, very good for his age, excellent for his age. Most people in the world would wanna look like Eddie Murphy at whatever age he's at.
Oh yeah.
They wanna age like Eddie Murphy. But I will say this, in spite of the fact that visually he's really maintained his look in a very, very impressive way, he's obviously not the same character or the same vibe he was when he was kind of in his 20s. I can say that about myself. When I was in my 20s, I was like super, I think, kind of arrogant and full of myself and like had this annoying, like overconfidence thing going on. I was kind of a jerk in some parts, not throughout my whole 20s, but I could see a few years that, there's a few years in your life that you feel like I'm young and I can do this and I can do that. And I think that Eddie Murphy, those early youthful years, which he was like the toast of the town and he had this overconfidence, it really came out with every second he was on screen in those type of roles. And to go back after like 40 years and suddenly be Axel Foley, really, really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll give Tom Cruise credit that he managed to go be Maverick again after all those years. Even then, keep in mind, he was a bit more mature. It was an arrogant and cocky Maverick, but with a little more life experience, and they managed to somehow find that balance. And Tom Cruise did a fantastic job revisiting the role. But in most cases, when you try to revisit the role, it just doesn't. It feels like too much time has gone by. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, you know how you'd have sometimes shows and then they do a revival. Like the Brady Bunch, if you watch the original Brady Bunch, they all have a certain vibe. Then you watch like, they did a reunion show in like the late 80s or mid 80s. The Brady Bunch Returns. I don't even know what it's called. So there's a there was like a new series with the Brady Bunch. All those people didn't feel quite like they did before. What can you do? They're not kids anymore. Everything's changed. You kind of feel like they don't quite feel like the Brady's. Do you get what I mean?
Mhm. Yep.
And
It's just not the same.
it's not the same. And man, there was an episode. I don't know why I remember this. That even as a kid, I knew that they really jumped the shark. And listen, there have been some dumb things on even the original Brady Bunch. It's really difficult for them to jump the shark. But there was something where, like I think a van moved their house. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, so in the Brady Bunch, I could be wrong on this. I haven't seen this episode, I think, like, in decades. I saw it when it aired. Apparently, they wanted to move, so like people came and attached like something to their house to like the Brady Bunch home, and they moved the house to another location. They took the house out of the ground and they transferred the house elsewhere. Do you know what I'm
Okay.
talking about? I feel like I'm
I d
crazy.
I
Does
don't
anybody
remember this.
remember this, that they moved their house in a van or they tied it to something and they, like, moved instead of moving into a new house, they moved the Brady house somewhere else. I feel like a nutcase, but this really happened. I'm gonna prove this.
Okay, in a 1990 TV episode titled "A Moving Experience," part of the series The Brady's. In this episode, Mike and Carol Brady learn their neighborhood is in the path of a proposed freeway and their home is to be razed. Instead of selling and moving to a new house, the Bradys decide to physically relocate their existing home to a new lot. The episode shows the house being transported down the road with family members running alongside the moving truck. So you're not crazy. It's there.
I'm not crazy, I told you. How do I find that thing where they moved their house?
Seems to be it was an episode called "A Moving Experience."
Okay, okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
I hope you're trying to find it. I don't know. I think
Might
it was something.
might be hard to find because it was not in the Brady Bunch. It was a show called The Brady's
Yeah, no, it's the
in the 90s.
continuation of the Brady
Yeah.
Bunch, and I did actually find the episode, but I feel like it's not, it doesn't show me this thing. Do you remember what part of the episode they moved their house? I'm sorry, but this'll bother me if I don't see them moving.
No, I have no idea.
Okay, okay. I know this is strange.
Here, I have a picture.
You have a picture?
Here, I have a picture of the of the truck on the back of the home on the back of the truck. But that's the best I've got. Let's see.
You got the truck?
Yeah. Oh no. Oh no, there's Daily Motion video here.
All right.
We'll mute the music for a moment. Let's see.
There's something about the house moving. I just wanna see the house, like I was looking here, but I can't find the thing where they move the home. I feel like I don't know. I don't know if we have the right episode. I found this in another place. The van has to move the home. I'm sorry, this makes me laugh. I don't think we got it. It seemed wait, is that it? Ah,
Oh no, there's the
I feel like maybe there was an additional part to this episode and we somehow can't find it here. In any case, this really happened. They moved their house. Like fans came and took them away in a house. Anyhow, uh,
yeah, I'm not seeing it.
we
Oh
tried our best.
wait. Oh, terrible music. There you go.
You got it?
There you go.
Yes! Yes, they moved the house. This is the best thing that ever happened. I don't often laugh, but you know what? This stupid thing. This is the best thing. I love
Sean
this.
Green says, "Not crazy." Confirmed.
Not crazy. I love this. This is like. I love that somebody sat in a writer's room and said, "Hey, what if we have like a van move the house?" And they're like, "Brilliant. That's good. The thumbs up. Thumbs up. They're
Oh
moving
no,
the house."
they're watching them move the house.
This is just absurd. It's absurd.
But
The
you know
nerve
they
of
do
these
they do
writers.
actually do this. They do actually do this with homes. Not usually a house this big. They would break it down into pieces to move it.
I would think so. Plus,
But
like the
they
speed.
yes. So
The
I will tell you actually my grandfather he built the house with the help of some friends, but they built the house that my mom and most of her siblings grew up in, and that house for many years it sat in the same spot, and then just a few years ago that lot
This is
was
the only
bought
house
up
that was available.
as part of a big purchase by one of the school districts nearby. And so they were either going to demolish or get rid of all of the homes that were there. And that home that like I said, my mom and most of her siblings grew up in, that my grandfather built with his own two hands, uh, because it was brick construction and it still had really solid wood and everything, they decided not to get rid of it, and so instead, they shored it up and put all sorts of stuff on it, and they picked that house up and they moved it across town so that that house is still standing. It's just in a totally different lot on the other end of town.
Was it as big as the Brady Bunch house?
Oh no, hell no! It was nowhere near as big as the Brady Bunch. It was one floor. It was not a very big house. They broke it into two pieces and they moved it across town. But yeah,
I told you the ones that I must have told you this, that I was in a restaurant and I saw Florence Henderson eating with what's her name, with Maureen McCormick.
oh really?
I really listen, I don't often like want to take pictures and stuff like that, and I didn't take a picture because it felt really bad like interrupting them while they were eating. But I kind of wanted a picture with Carol Brady and Marsha Brady. That would have been a cool thing to add to my collection, but I didn't say anything. I was in Los Angeles. I actually, on a separate occasion, I met Maureen McCormick, like, very briefly, I we shook hands. She seemed like a quirky character. That's what I'll tell you, that she seemed really, really quirky in person. More than you'd think that she would be, but that's just what I vaguely remember. Not saying anything bad, I'm just saying that, like, she seemed like she was kind of out there. I don't really know another way to explain it. But I guess maybe growing up as a child in the spotlight, during that era.
Yeah, that changes you. I don't think it can't, you know? I'm sorry. I think just being, in the spotlight like that, everybody's always around you, and everyone knows who you are. They're always trying to, keep you happy and do stuff for you. And of course, then there's all of the freaks in Hollywood, right? That are trying to get all
Yeah.
sorts of other things out of you
Yeah,
as
and
a young
and she was
actor.
a
So
young, not bad looking young lady in Hollywood.
yeah.
I assume that all of that had some kind of effect. She I don't really know how to explain it to you. I was happy because it's like, wow, it's Marsha Brady. And I guess I have in my mind what Marsha Brady was be. Meanwhile, she seemed like she was, and the best way I can say is kind of out there. But not that I felt anything negative or anything. It's just, she just seemed like very offbeat, and that's the best way I can describe it. Now, I'm an offbeat guy. So if I looked at her and I'm thinking to myself, she's rather offbeat, I think that means that she's offbeat.
Mhm.
That's the best I can say, but at the same time, yeah, she interesting character. She didn't do anything
Yeah.
bad. I was still
I,
happy
I'm
to.
I'm sure having people go Marsha, Marsha, Marsha to you your whole life was probably damaging on some level. So
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's so iconic. How can you get away from these things? Like,
I know.
you'll forever be Marsha Brady, and she'll forever be like Carol Brady. Can't really get away from that. At best, maybe Florence Henderson could say that she made like commercials for Crisco oil or something. Was it Crisco oil that she made commercials for?
I think it was.
I feel like she must have sold Crisco oil, because what else would Florence Anderson do? She has to sell Crisco oil.
It was Wesson Oil.
Ah, shoot. That's it.
Wesson
I'm
Oil.
losing my touch, Professor.
Oh,
I'm losing it.
yeah.
I remember that they
How
moved the
dare you? How dare you?
I remembered some van moved the
Wesson's
truck.
bottle is lighter than ever. Pass it on. Wesson does feel lighter. This new plastic bottle's easier to handle. It's got a built-in no-drip top and no more mess.
Wesson Oil in a plastic bottle.
What did I say?
Yay.
Crisco? Come on.
Crisco.
Crisco was close enough.
It's close
I
enough.
was close enough.
Close enough.
I hope the people in the chat will let this one slide. I was very close. Tracy Alexander says in a special about the Jacksons, she said she briefly dated Michael Jackson. I didn't know that, Tracy Alexander. Marsha dated Michael Jackson.
Huh.
I mean,
Mhm.
listen, they were all these kind of, child actor, whatever it is. I wouldn't think any of this was super odd. Uh, I kind of wish, also the Brady Bunch, they were kind of in that crew, and the Jacksons at the time, they were like, people forget this. Initially, Michael Jackson was kind of surrounded by his brothers, and I'm going to say something controversial. I think that if Michael would have stayed with his brothers, rather than going solo, I think maybe he would have landed. Maybe certain things in his life would have worked out better for him on a personal level. And the reason I say this is that, I feel like in those earlier years with the Jackson 5 and his brothers all around him, uh, maybe he was the most talented one out of all of them, but I think that at least some of those guys were a little more grounded, and maybe they looked out for him a little more. In the part that he was just making so much money and such a superstar, yet he himself was kind of, again, also offbeat or whatever you want to call it. I feel like he needed guidance from other people around him. He wasn't. I don't want to speak ill here. The man was a musical genius. He was an entertainment genius, but he seemed very unconventional.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like, I feel like he was surrounded by a lot of people that wanted money from him, and he himself, his mind was kind of in a strange place. And I think a better support system around him, maybe with his brothers around him, would have helped him. That's just my personal opinion. I have nothing,
Yeah,
no way to
yeah,
prove it, but that's what my opinion is. I feel
yeah.
like,
Poor guy was pretty damaged by his father quite early on, unfortunately. So
well, they all were, I think, but I think
they
that
all were. Yeah,
once you put them together in a band, I think that knowing that they all had this experience, that they all had sort of a tough upbringing with that father, I do think that they were able to look out for each other a little more. And once he kind of became just Michael Jackson, I'm living in my, castle and with all the hundreds of millions of dollars and doing whatever. I think that a guy that's not 100%, I don't know if to say stable, probably it's not always a good idea giving him that kind of, those kind of resources and just the ability to do whatever without anybody even offering him like, any guidance or anything. I feel like he distanced himself even from his brothers, from all that stuff. And I don't think it ended up working out well for him. That's my personal opinion. Tragedy though, because the guy was super talented.
he very much was. Yeah, he created some absolutely incredible music. I mean, there's a reason he's considered the king of pop. He was an incredible entertainer. Unfortunately, after he had that injury on stage, the fire, ended up getting exposed to a lot of drugs and prescription painkillers and stuff, and that, along with a bunch of other things, led down a
Yeah, I
bad
mean,
road,
again,
unfortunately.
I've always been, you know, I don't really know exactly to tell you what happened with him with some of those things. I, I, I I'm one of those people that I tend to think that this guy wasn't the terrible person that some of those media wanted to make him out to be. I think that he had personal issues, and like I said, I think he had the wrong people around him, and it was a bad combination of having unlimited resources, being sort of I don't even know. Again, this is really some kind of deep conversation here, so that nobody will ever say. I
Hmm.
think that Michael Jackson was on the spectrum, for starters. I think that if you wanted him to sing and dance and do something professional when it came to music, this guy was laser focused and was like the absolute professional. And sometimes if you look at old interviews, especially the older ones, you see some guy just interviewing him. When he talks, he's almost like sort of, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, and there's some people over on Rumble mentioning some of the conspiracy theories. They bumped. His doctor was the one that killed him. Honestly, I would say that yes, I think his quote unquote doctors absolutely contributed to his death because they
Oh,
were
they were
enabling
doing
him.
stuff that they weren't allowed
Th-
to do. There's
They were
no doubt
enabling
about
him
that.
by giving him all sorts of different prescription things that he should never have had.
Never,
He
never.
should have been admitted to any number of different clinics to help him get
Yes.
off all of that stuff, but instead they were just giving him more and giving it to him more often until but there's also the, the people saying his label killed him off to get the music rights back, and I think that's all rather silly. It's a lot easier to consider that, oh, these doctors, well, they just kept giving him more meds because, hey, they were getting paid for it, and they were keeping their asset happy for as long as they could and getting as much money out of him as they possibly could while he was still around. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, I'm looking. I don't know if this is. I'm gonna try to share this. I don't know if this is what I'm looking for. I'm just saying that back in the day, especially in the earlier days, you see some interviews with him. His demeanor and the way he behaves in these interviews is so different than what you're used to seeing later. Not later. So different than what you're seeing when he's on stage.
That's very important. They make sure we, got the right things for ourselves. Strong parents are, I think, are very important, especially in our situation. If he hit me, I would hit him back, which was terrible. And they would I would run around the house and hide and all that stuff. But I would really get it more than anybody.
Do you think your father was too strict?
Yes. No, he's gonna kill me.
He's gonna get you still worried about that at your age? Well, he feels that he was strict.
I'm glad he said it. Now I'll say it, yes. Did he?
I don't know. I see a lot of kind of pain and kind of, he was such a talent and growing
Yeah.
up in that atmosphere. I don't know what to tell you, man. I
Yeah.
feel like I wish there were better systems in place. Sometimes when you're so rich and powerful and there's something wrong with you, there's just, I guess, no way to help you.
Yeah. Oh, and he was, he said there his father was strict. His father was more than strict. From what I've
Yes.
heard, he was
Yes.
abusive, not just physically, but also emotionally. The constant focus in his later life on his nose and making his nose smaller and smaller. Part of that was from his father saying some rather nasty things to him, using the N word to talk about that his nose was too wide and all sorts of stuff. These were things that his brothers and sisters said, that they had heard his father say to him over the years. And and that kind of stuff at a young age, man, it really really messes with your personality. And
And if you looked at this interview that I showed, he was already like an adult at this point, but he's talking like a 5-year-old kid. And I think that this motif went on. Maybe spectrum isn't the right thing to say, almost like stuck in a strange childlike state of sorts. I don't really know how to explain it. I don't know if it's a spectrum thing. I don't know if it's the weight of the mental things that he had to put up with.
yeah,
But at the end, when you see a guy talking, and even the interviewer is like, "Oh, still like," and he kind of talking about it like a little kid. Oh well, my father will be upset. What am I going to do? And I don't know. I just feel like I said, uh, I think this guy had a difficult life. Aside from being, the most successful entertainer and all that stuff, I think that his personal life was very difficult for him. That's the impression that I've always gotten. And I also think that there were some people that took advantage of that, whether it's doctors, whether it's other, type of lawsuits he got. I think that at least I can't say for sure what happened and didn't happen, but I feel like there were also opportunists there trying to take advantage of him and of his bank account.
very much so. Yeah. Yep. What else we got to talk about, Price?
Yes, how do
We
we
got
get
some
it?
other things on the list. We want to talk about
Sorry, guys. I don't
Ironheart.
know.
We were going to
I'm
talk about
so sorry.
Ironheart.
I brought everybody down
No,
with this.
no, no, it's fine. Yeah, it's
Everybody's
what
now
we do on
sad.
here. We go off on all sorts of tangents all the time. It's fine. I was
That's
just
it.
kind
Like
of
everybody's bummed out now.
Andor, Ironheart. We had a couple of things we were thinking about talking about. You want to do Andor?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's talk about Andor. Andor. That's a
yeah.
good
Here,
idea.
here I
How
can.
do we get to the difficult
So,
life that he went through as a child? How do we go there, Professor?
oh, I don't know. It's all over the place. I'm not sure. It started with the Brady Bunch, and I don't even know how we got there.
Oh, because I said that I met Marsha Brady and she was weird, and then you said she went out with Tracy Alexander said she went with Michael Jackson. I think that's what she said, right? Isn't that how we got to it?
Something like that. Yeah, yeah. That she said she had been on a date, but so yeah, we haven't talked about Andor in a couple of weeks. We didn't really talk about it last week. We just had other things on the docket, and last week we actually got some pretty decent episodes. At least I thought they were pretty decent.
I'm going to tell you what I think. Last week, first of all, season 2, the first 6 episodes, in my opinion, were crap. I really, really found very little to enjoy in them. Then you had episodes 7, 8, and 9. Now, even in episode 7, 8, and 9, 7 was kind of so-so, I think. 8 was pretty good, and 9 was pretty good. Now, when I say pretty good, I mean that there were certain stretches of time in these episodes that I thought that I was watching stuff that was cool. But at the same time, even those episodes that are being now hailed as like peak whatever, brilliant, they still had a lot of filler in them, had a lot of slow developments. There were some things that I genuinely liked, but I can't pretend that everything that happened until these episodes was great and just let them get a pass. Like here, you show these top rated thing. I don't think that these episodes were 9.8 or 9.7. I'm sorry. I just
Yeah,
don't think so. I
yeah.
think that they were, compared to the other episodes this season, certainly significantly better, but I wouldn't give them these type of grades.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, these are audience grades. You're going to have plenty of shills that are going to hop in there, give every they don't really know how to rate anything. They just show up and like if they enjoyed it, it's always a 10 out of 10, right? I guarantee you, there's a huge number of 10 out of 10s in that where people just think, oh, it's the most amazing thing ever. I really episode 7 is okay. I It was fine. Episode 8, best of the whole season. Maybe not the best of the series, but best of the whole season, where we actually see everything that happens on Gorman. Some of it was a little over the top. Getting the we got our French Revolution, do you hear the people sing moment in there of them out there in that square. But how it all unfolds all works really well. There's a lot of good cinematography in there. There's clearly let's be honest. If they're going to try and reproduce Battleship Potemkin in Star Wars, I'm fine with that, right? They did a pretty good job with actually like all the different angles and showing kind of the chaos of what was happening when everything went down, as they manipulated that group into turning into a huge riot. Uh, it all worked really well. We got to see the bit with Cyril just losing it when he realizes how he's been used during that whole time that he's been there on Gorman, how he's been used.
I
And
like that scene. I like that scene that he approaches,
Dedra,
Deidre, whatever her
yeah,
name is, and he starts like, a spoiler, he kind of chokes her and stuff. I liked all of that. I thought that that was good. The only problem is that even after that, that everybody's praising how he died and whatever, it kind of felt very anticlimactic to me. Now you could say, well, that's just the thing. It shows that he was so into this whole empire and whatever. And at the end, he just kind of didn't do any good for him. And I
hmm
understand that, but you know what? It all just, I didn't feel that feeling that I wanted to feel. Meaning, especially because the build up to all these things and these characters and these arcs was done in such a boring and kind of uh, filler and annoying way with too many characters. I just, at the end when all these big emotional payoffs came, I just didn't feel anything. And I can see certain scenes and ideas that I liked, and yet at the same time, I didn't walk away thinking that this was the triumph that some
yeah,
people are
yeah.
thinking.
And I personally, I thought I was actually hoping that we would see some actual character arcs where some characters that we've known actually switch sides, right? Actually recognized that the empire was evil and then turn their backs on the empire. Uh, e- Everyone though, it pretty much ends up exactly where they started. Even I mean, aside from Dedra, who ends up in prison, but at the
But
even
she
then,
didn't
I think
change. She didn't.
she
She
didn't
just.
change.
She just. She,
She's still loyal to the empire.
to the empire. She's just sad that it didn't work out like she was
Yeah,
so ambitious, and at the end, it
yeah,
ended up that it didn't help her. I mean, yeah, I just feel like there was no real arc for anybody. It was just some nonsense. And I'll tell you this: think about these characters. Uh, do I really care about these characters? And the truth is, not really. I don't care about Andor any more than I didn't care about him earlier. And Diego Luna's portrayal of him doesn't help. This Bix lady we were introduced to here, couldn't really care less about her. They shoved in that final thing there so that in the future they can maybe do some kind of like, spin off or son or whatever. Just some nonsense. I couldn't care less about it. Mon Mothma, I've liked that character in the original trilogy or whatever it is. I feel like after seeing this, maybe I don't need so much of Mon Mothma. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there was a way to use her sparingly in a cool way that people would be like, "Wow, it's Mon Mothma," and like you're kind of cool with that. I think that once we got into like her dancing at weddings with her daughter and stuff like that, you really kind of lost me. It's too much information, more than I needed about this character. Didn't really feel anything. Uh, Luthen, I think that that was probably one of the better characters, and I think that the actor is really good, and he brought something to the table. But with his fate and everything that happened, couldn't really care less. Honestly, I felt nothing. And then there was like a whole episode of his daughter trying to disconnect the thing and then get away. Man, I just felt. You know what really broke me? You want to know what really annoyed me? There was an episode where she started having flashbacks of her as a kid with Luthen, and then like half the episode is like they keep flashing back.
Yeah.
Man, I don't give a shit. Sorry, Sean. I don't give a shit about any of that. I just it's just, and at the end they needed to somehow make it connect to Rogue One. And you know what? I ended up, after watching these episodes, I ended up watching Rogue One, and I didn't feel like the connection was so strong. I didn't feel like,
Mm-mm.
yeah, they tried to set up whatever they could, but it didn't suddenly give me a new perspective on Rogue One or make me feel differently about it or about these characters, about anything. Just this show, like I said, there were competent moments and interesting scenes and interesting ideas that it explored. But at the end of the day, if I have to zoom out and look at the overall execution, it's just not good enough. And two episodes that are less crappy than all the other ones, or at least somewhat decent, aren't going to change my mind. And they're certainly not 9.8 or 9.7. That's not realistic scores.
Yeah, and there were definitely like the Welcome to the Rebellion episode where Mon Mothma gives her speech, and she then escapes after her rather rabble rousing speech to the Senate. I didn't particularly like where they went with that episode. I was for me the whole time I'm like, really? They're that impotent?
Who
The
gives a
Empire is
shit?
the Empire is so impotent that they can't catch her on the way out of
Can't.
the Senate. They're gonna have cameras everywhere. They're gonna have troops everywhere. They're gonna have even if they're able to get away from the Senate building, they're gonna be able to like follow their car. They're gonna be able to fly in, send TIE fighters. Like it didn't make any sense that they were able to get away so easily. Right. There needed to be something bigger that happened to actually be able to for them to get away, other than him just taking her out the back door and using the stairs instead of the elevator. I was like, "What?" That's how he gets away. Like part of it was good. Like I liked that. Okay, they sent him in, and he had, he had his credentials. He was like press, and then they have to convince her to go with him instead of going with these other people because they're agents. Although that also confused the hell out of me because that we're told that those are people who are embedded with the other senator, Jimmy Smits. Uh, they're like embedded with him, and that they're going to tell her they're going to take her to Yavin. Well, if they know about Yavin, then the Empire knows about Yavin because they're Imperial agents. That doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, there was stuff about that. I was like, this doesn't work for me. It was definitely, the speech was well written and it was acted well. There were good things about the episode, but there were things in the end that I was just kind of like, I don't know. I really don't know about this. Um, but oh yes, there's old Diego Luna there. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the
got
thing
your
is,
screen up there now.
oh, that's my screen.
Yeah,
I mean, he looks like a grumpy face even here. In
he
any
is a
case,
grumpy. He has no like he. I like him. Okay, I don't have a problem with him,
there are
but
certain roles that he's good for. This wasn't one of them.
yeah, but I don't have a problem with him, but I don't love him so much of the time. It feel like he's just a non-entity. He's just sort of there.
I agree. By the
And
way, bigot
yeah,
on socialist media, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, 10K. Nice. And oh, hey, Robot Head in the chat. Hey there, Robot Head.
Oh wow, Robot Head. You know what, Robot Head? I'm going to tell you something. Who gives a shit about Mon Mothma? Who gives a shit? Only Kathleen Kennedy. Let's talk for real here. Only
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy could have sat there and said, "We got to make Mon Mothma like a bigger deal. How do we make her a bigger deal? She has to make a sacrifice and dance around. Like, this is so Kathleen Kennedy bullshit. I really, there's only so much attention I can give to that character. And it's sad because I didn't have anything against her, but really, like, this is over the top. So yeah, that's the thing I don't give a shit about.
And
And
I did enjoy. Did you see the titles of any of the episodes, Price? Did you see
did
the
I see
title of
the?
episode 10?
I didn't see it.
The one the title of the episode where Luthen dies. Well, when he gets captured. Uh the title of the episode was "Make It Stop." And I think that was a lot of us are having the same feeling about Andor. Just make it stop, please. No more.
That's funny. I didn't even look at the names of the episodes.
Yeah.
That's what it was called. It was called Make It Stop.
Make It Stop. Yeah, that was the first of the 3 of the last final 3 episodes. Yeah, it was called Make It Stop. Which
That
and
is
then there was
very.
the whole thing with her when she goes in to make sure that Luthen dies, that he's not, that they're not able to get him and extract anything from him. She goes in there and then she just like spends all this time like slowly unhooking this little device and to make sure that the life support's not working anymore and whatever. I'm like, I get it. He's sort of your dad. Shoot him in the head and walk away. This isn't complicated. You're all of the time that you're wasting doing this is time you're going to get caught. It's, it's
I
like,
didn't need all of that. I
or just
don't
or
care.
shoot him in the head. Shoot the little machine that's saving his life. Whatever. Just like I don't need you to stand around for 10 minutes and cry about this.
That character could have not existed and it wouldn't have mattered to me. Same with Bix, same with Willimon, same
Oh,
with
friggin' Bix.
I'm trying to think what else. Uh
Yeah. Oh, and
I
that was like someone was talking about this earlier tonight with Bix. It was actually on Brown during Brown's review they were doing this evening. Uh, that Wilman, like, we get that episode where he goes over and he's part of Saul Guerrera's group, and there was actually that I thought really well done scene where he's kind of radicalizing Wilman, right? He's
That was pretty cool, yeah.
it was a good scene because it's really well acted and you get like that. Yeah, he's kind of unhinged as a leader of the rebellion, but you can see why he gets people to follow him because he's radical and he's explaining to them like, this is what rebellion means. It means to be out of control. It means to kind of embrace being on the edge. And like he sort of radicalized woman, but then like the next episode, Wilman's just back on Yavin with the
Wilman's
regular
just
rebels.
a little bitch out right 5 minutes later. You
It's
know
like,
what I mean? And he's running around. Where's his girlfriend? Oh, I need to go back for this lady, this blonde lady with the
yeah,
communication.
it's like,
Who cares?
okay, sure. Like, what happened? Why did he leave? First of all, how did he get away? Because he was actually a prisoner of he was actually a prisoner of Saul Guerrera, but now like he's back and he's fine. And like, it was weird. It was strange. They just sort of ignored.
And you know what? You watch Rogue One and like Saw Gerrera just dies like the dumbest death. He's just like standing there. He's like, Saw, you have to come with us. I will not run any longer. I have to stand here and die. It's like, dude, your whole thing was you were a wacky rebel. What are you standing around here to die for?
Well, he's a little unhinged. We know that much. He's a little crazy. So at that moment, he decided it was just
It
time for
was
him
time.
to
But you know what?
die, I guess. But
Rogue
yeah, that
One
was
has
weird.
not improved. Rogue One, nothing that this movie did made me look at Rogue One differently.
No.
It has the same problems it always had. I'm bored for 2 acts of the movie. Then there's the speech where they all get together and there's like this cool music playing and they're all deciding that they're going to go and do the thing, the operation, even though it wasn't approved. And then there's the whole scene where we're Rogue One and the Battle of Scarif starts. That's where the movie starts. You
Mhm.
could actually not show me Andor season 1, not show me Andor season 2, not show me the first 2 acts of Rogue One, and just show me those like 45 minutes or whatever it is. That to me is good. If all Disney Star Wars ever made, ever, was only those 45 minutes, I'd
Mhm.
probably foolishly think that maybe they are semi decent at making Star Wars. The problem is that that was the only 40 minutes that you could watch in anything that they've done, and all the rest is absolute crap. And even those 40 minutes, I can nitpick and tell you that Darth Vader having those type of powers, but then in A New Hope not having them immediately when we see him, even that's kind of an issue.
Yeah, you know what? Here's what it did for me in how it changed me viewing Rogue One. Now I know that Andor had a real awful B word of a girlfriend who was pregnant with his child and didn't tell him. So he went off
That
and
bitch couldn't even tell him that she was pregnant. What a
she
dumb bitch.
she went off, did not tell him that he had a child, and then he went off to war and got himself killed, never knowing that he had a
Never
child.
knowing.
And that is just some of the most selfish bullshit. I'm sorry. I
That
that
dumb
is
bitch.
just disgusting.
And
And
what
why did she go back to the planet she had to flee from because the Imperials were there? That doesn't make any sense. With the Imperials are probably going to come back eventually, right? They're going to come back and they're going to check see if you got your visa or whatever, and if you're supposed to be on that planet and you're illegal, and they're going to take you and your kid. Why would makes no sense at all?
it doesn't make any sense.
And it's just yeah, so yeah, here's what I got. Yeah, he goes off and fights a war not knowing that he's a father when he should have known,
They made
that
him a
that he had a
deadbeat
kid.
dad because they had to make him somehow a deadbeat dad, even if it didn't exist. That's probably one of the conditions that Kathleen Kennedy had. Like, you make
Yeah,
Andor, you have to end it that he's somehow a deadbeat dad, even if he doesn't know, even if he has no idea that he's a deadbeat dad. Got to make him like that. What did we even need this Biggs character? What is she? What purpose does she even serve? You know, yes, the actress looks all right. Aside from that, what does she serve? Nothing. She doesn't give anything to the story. And after building up her stupid character over the course of 70 hours, at the end, she disappears and she's on some planet, has a kid, and doesn't even tell him. And the only reason they did this so later they can use this kid and shove him into some future project. It's like they wasted all this time and resources and money just so they can later have some stunning and brave woman give to some birth to some kid that he didn't even know about. It's just pathetic, in my opinion.
yeah.
Not
We needed one more woman, to decide that she didn't need no man,
didn't
and
need
that
no
her kid
man.
didn't need a father. Yeah,
Didn't need him
thanks.
at all. He can go
Needed
fuck
that in
himself.
Star Wars. Jeez.
Absolutely, she didn't need him. And the other thing is that this show is so weird. It started off. How does the show start? He's looking for his sister. Where's my
Yeah, we never
sister?
find out about the sister.
Never mentions her
Nothing.
again. 70 hours. They logged in 70 hours of bullshit with that stupid sister in the first season. Nothing. What about what's his name? The guy that plays Gollum.
Oh, yeah, after
Andy
the
Serkis.
yeah.
What about Andy Serkis? That was seemed to be an important character in season 1.
Well, if
Never
I
saw
remember,
him.
he's still in prison
Never saw
because
him again.
after they get the prison break, remember he says he can't swim, so
I see.
he had to
Ye
stay behind and eventually got captured by the
I guess so, but
by the Empire again.
all I know is this: we never see that guy again, never hear. They made it seem like he's an important character.
Yeah,
That was actually a character that I wanted to see more of, but we never will, and they just, wrote him off. And the sister thing, I don't really give a shit about his sister either, but if you made it a thing, the thing starts, the whole show starts. The inciting incident is that he's looking for his sister at some whorehouse or something. Sorry, Sean. And then he walks into an alley and shoots some officer. Everything that got this thing in motion was he was looking for his sister. He was willing to kill for it. He was willing to put his life on the line for that stupid thing. Never mentions it again. Doesn't give a shit about it anymore. And if he doesn't give a shit about it, why should I?
yeah. See who mentioned. E. Clay Thompson says his stepmom told him that his sister died. It was never confirmed though. Yeah, it was. It was one of those things where it's like you know that she's dead. You know it in your heart that she's dead. That's why you can't find her. That kind of. It was that kind of thing, right?
Uh,
But
they didn't feel like dealing with
yeah,
it.
they didn't want to
By
follow
the
up with
way,
that part of the story anymore.
Robot Head, I sent you a DM. Although no, I understand that I don't know what hour it is even for you, but I did send you a DM. In any case, this thing was an absolute disaster. I can't give it a pass. I can't give it a pass because it had a few interesting scenes in episode like 8 and 9 and like 10 or whatever it is. Can't give it a pass. And really, I even think that the final few episodes, like the final 3, just kept becoming more anticlimactic and more anticlimactic, and it just ended like, like some big fart at the end. The only thing
These could have been two 110-minute movies.
I absolutely.
That,
Absolutely.
that and they could have told some really tight, compelling, interesting stories with some different characters in it. They could have left out all of the boring, dull procedural. Oh, let's sit around in a room and have a meeting. Both of us got bumped at the same time.
Both got booted off. They saw the Andor picture, and that was
Yep,
the
they
end of
said
us.
nope, no,
They didn't want to
you're
see
not
Diogo
coming back.
Luna's grumpy face anymore. That's
Yep.
really what happened. But yes, I generally
Yeah.
agree with you. I think that we've probably talked about this somewhere, but what I want to say is that season 1 of Andor could have been a 2-hour movie. Season 2 of Andor could have been a 2-hour movie, and in those 2 hours, trim all the fat. I don't need every scene to last 7 hours. Take the main beats that we saw here and also improve the story. It's not even, a final draft here. Improve the idea, build those two up as like a rebellion that gets together. And in the third chapter, have like all the characters that you got to know in the first 2 movies, have it really pay off, that you really see, conclusions to their story, plus a big battle at the end. And I think maybe then, if you plan it properly, have competent people making it, maybe you got yourself a pretty good trilogy. But that would have required a real studio head with real vision, and Kathleen Kennedy is the opposite of that. She has no vision whatsoever. She has always been out of her element here. She doesn't know anything about this franchise. She doesn't even care, and all of the stuff that she made is crap. And this is somehow a little less crap than all the other crap, but a lot of crap in it nevertheless.
Lots of crap.
Lots of crap is the truth. But yeah, so what can we do? Oh, yeah, you got kicked off again?
No, everything was acting funny after it came back in, so I restarted real quick.
Elizabeth Quinn says, did I get her comment? It sounds like it ended on a mouth fart. It did. It was such an annoying. The only thing,
Yeah.
the only thing that I liked, KS20
Oh
or whatever.
yeah,
That's probably
K2SO. Yeah,
K2SO, whatever
and
it
he
is.
was the best part of the Rogue
The
One
movie,
movie
yeah.
too. Yeah,
He had more character than those stupid characters that they cast and built there. And I think that on the show, those were the only moments I kind of enjoyed seeing him. And even the bad versions of him, I liked seeing them. And then I liked him that he was like the good version. That's what I liked in this whole show.
yeah,
If there would have been like a 4-episode show instead of 2 seasons of 12 episodes each of like this robot doing cool stuff, I probably would have enjoyed that more than all this other crap.
yeah. The just the regular, like you said, the bad versions were kind of terrifying. Honestly, you saw them in that crowd, like
That
just
was one of the maybe the
tearing through people like
best moment. The
nothing.
best moment in this whole stupid thing was those robots walking around and killing people. That was like the best. And then turning him good, and then that he's around. That's the highlight of this whole crappy show.
Yep. Everybody was waiting. Everybody was waiting to see K2SO, like where he was going to come from. If he had been in, if he had showed up in like the first season or the first episode of season 2, I think people would have been a lot happier.
I'm telling you that they should have had. This is what they should have had. 2 seasons of first of all, make it a movie, and then just make you see him in the movie. In the first movie that you make sure he's in it, and then make sure he's in all the other movies, and just have him in there. But if you were already making this stupid show, make it 6 episodes a season, and from episode 1, introduce the robot. Make sure he's always there. That would have already improved the show.
Yeah, we got so many things. It's just like I'm sorry, I don't need to see neurotic, uh, imperial apparatchik sitting around arguing with his overbearing mother. I don't need to see that. I don't care about it. I don't need any of those scenes for any reason. Get rid of them. I understand you're trying to build this character. This character doesn't mean anything, and knowing that thing behind them doesn't tell me anything. I don't need 40 minutes out of a season of listening to him and his overbearing mother, and about how he got got your job from your uncle or whatever. I don't care. I don't care.
Well, Robot Head is asking if these robots just slap people. I like them, but is that their main role? I mean, they were body slamming them, I guess, and then
Oh
and
yeah.
they were throwing them around. I didn't mind that.
Like
I kind of thought it was
I will
funny.
say, I will say in the last episode, next to last episode, when they were going in to extract Clea, when he's just walking around like slapping people and smashing them on the ground, but then when he actually has to engage with the troopers that are going in for that extraction, like he just picks the one guy up and just sort of holds him there while they keep shooting him. It's like, how stupid are you? It's like the opposite of what we get with the stormtroopers in the original trilogy, right? Where they're shooting and they're missing all the time. Now these guys are shooting and they're hitting, except they're hitting their own guy repeatedly for
Right.
no apparent reason.
But that was probably the coolest scene in this whole
Oh,
stupid
it's very
show. Like
good.
that.
Yeah.
I like that. I like when there was in Gorm and the riots and the robots like walk around and just throw people around, and they push those blockades that kind of crash into them.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I enjoyed. I don't know. At the end, from all of this like gritty, grounded bullshit, the only thing that was kind of pleasant was like killer robots and stuff like that. I don't know what it says about me, but that's probably the only thing that I thought was good here.
Yeah. I there were plenty of things I did enjoy in the first season. I did enjoy as we got to spend more time with Luthen and kind of learning about
That was a
him and
pretty
his
decent character.
motivations. There was the fantastic scene with him and Lonnie,
Yes.
down there in the depths where he really tells him, that incredible dialogue that they wrote for him about his motivations, fighting for a sunrise he'll never see. That was fantastic. But again, that was one episode, and it was 10 minutes out of a single episode, right? That
And
could have been part of the 2-hour movie.
And
Right.
Cyril was wasted too. I think that, what would have been cool was if maybe Cyril starts off as an evil Empire guy trying to please, and gradually, as he learns more about what's going on, and suddenly he becomes sort of red pilled, he gradually wants to steer away and actually join the rebellion. And I
Mhm.
think that if you would have given him an arc like that at the end there's like a redemption there because he realizes that he was on the wrong side, that would have meant a whole lot more. And you could have also created like an unlikely hero of sorts and changed and had him, go from like bad to good or whatever it is, or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But
I wanted to see just one character who was Empire all the way, right? Who was this is the way to go. Who changed sides, and he would have been the perfect character to change sides. He goes through this whole thing where he's working to help the Empire to expose the rebellion and doing all of this stuff that he's doing in the first season, and everything that he does in the second season to try and work his way back into the good graces of the ISB and the Empire and everything. And then he finds out he's been used this whole time, which is, we get that, right? There's this scene where he chokes Dedra. He's been used and he's furious about it. instead of, well, we have the scene where now he sees Andor, and oh, now he remembers who Andor is, and he's gonna get him, and they go and they fight, and he's gonna kill him. We change that scene up. We get to see him face off with Andor, and either Andor's got him dead to rights and decides not to kill him, and explains, you're not what I'm here to fight. I'm here to fight the rebellion, whatever. And we see him finally, like, recognizing that, no, that the evil is the Empire, that he's
I
been
got an even
serving the
better
evil.
idea. I got
Or
an
there's
even better
any
idea.
number of other ways you could approach it.
No. First of all, your idea was acceptable, but I'll just say what I would have liked. He walks out of there with Deidre, whatever. He knows he's been betrayed. He sees everything. He gets it. He goes through the process, and he sees the riots outside, and finally he gets it. And at
Yeah.
this point, Andor, this guy that he's been chasing his whole whatever, that was the big Moby Dick or whatever you want to call it. That was the big whale that you needed to catch. And then at the end, like, he sees him in a situation where, like, he gets approached by a few Imperial officers, and he seems to be cornered, and, like, just as it looks like Andor is done and he comes walking, instead of, like, letting them kill Andor, he kills them, and that's the moment that he understands he's joining the rebellion. And you
Mhm.
know what? That would have been like a kind of fist bump in the air type of moment. You know what I mean? That would have been cool to see. Of course, also make him a little less of a weirdo, and make the transformation like what would have been interesting, that he's not even necessarily, as much as he's a bad guy, as much as he wants to do what's right from the Empire, but because he's such a believer in what they do. Not that he's some jerk off weirdo asshole all the time, but he really believes he's doing great, and he's so
Yeah.
principled. And at
Yeah,
the
that what
end,
he's doing is good.
when he really learns that how he's been used, he joins the rebellion in a way that, like, everybody feels good about when you see that process. And they never gave us that. And the reason they didn't give it, and unfortunately nobody's going to talk about it, the reason why they didn't give us that is because he's a man, and this would be too heroic, too manly, too much what, like, men would want to see in a any kind of Star Wars property. So they had to end with, like, he was a jerk off loser, beta simp throughout the whole thing, and he ended his life just the way he lived it.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Sean, we're still here. Let me send you a link.
Tell him, get his ass in here. What are you doing?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there are definitely redeeming
I
qualities to both seasons of Andor. There are things there that were worthwhile, that were interesting, good character moments. But in the end, it's like, we got what, 24 hours of the show, and I can't recommend a show where I'm like, well, 80% of it's garbage.
the real
Watch
Sean
the
Crummell, I just sent you a DM if you're listening or watching or whatever it is. Just sent you a DM.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't send one. I almost forgot. I thought you were working late or whatever, but
Yeah.
you're always invited, so
Yeah,
sent
so
you a link.
just like 80% of it's garbage. I can't recommend this show to you. Like, watch these 2 episodes.
Yeah,
Here,
it's
go watch all of the little last time on Andor little catch up things at the beginning. Just watch those and skip forward to episode 8 and enjoy episode 8 and 9 or whatever. It's like, I can't recommend it. Yeah, there is some good stuff. I can't say that there's not. There's definitely some solid episodes, some really well done cinematography, some interesting story, but it's surrounded with a whole lot of other stuff that's not any good.
Yeah, it doesn't justify it. It doesn't justify it, and not only that, even the things that everybody's excited about could have been done better. And there's too many. I don't know. They're like, oh, what if there's a lesbian couple? They had to shove in so much weird crap into this show. It's like, it's not that I have an issue with lesbians per se, but really, do I care about that those characters? Couldn't care less. If both those lesbians suddenly died, in episode
Yeah.
2, it wouldn't matter to me. You know what I mean? They've contributed nothing except for the two lesbians on the show. That probably there was a few check marks that they ticked off. Who gives a shit
Yeah.
about those lesbians?
Now, speaking
And
of lesbians, oh, well, I'm sorry. No, that's not
speaking
the
of
right
lesbians,
segue.
how's
I'm
it?
sorry.
I was gonna make a
Sean.
joke. You mentioned lesbians, and I appear.
And there's Sean. He's here for the lesbians, people.
What else?
Absolutely.
What else is Star Wars for?
So
Let's
yeah,
go.
we're still talking about Andor, but it's sort of.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of Andor, by the way?
I watched the first episode of the first season. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's
Yeah,
pretty
I
much.
can't blame you.
Can't blame you. Sean's a smart guy. Sean saw it and he's like, "That's it. I've seen enough." And you know what? I can't blame you. They're really. It's not that I benefited in any way from watching all the 24 episodes.
It does not sound like it. I think even Robot Head was like, I saw something where it's like, just skip everything, watch the recap, and then just watch episode 7.
Yeah. I think Robot Head was the one that said that. Yeah, just watch the little recaps and then watch the episode. I mean, the first season had a couple of fantastic episodes, but you got to slog through like 8 other episodes of stuff that's not very interesting to get there.
That sounds like every Disney Plus show.
Yeah. We got the fantastic episode that was One Way Out was the one with the prison, right? Where they set up the prison riot and they escape the prison and you get all of this stuff. You get the fantastic speech from you get the fantastic speech for just forgot his name.
Andy Serkis?
Yes, Andy Serkis. You get the fantastic speech from Andy Serkis, where he's talking about, the we've been lied to, we've been taken advantage of. There's only one way that we're gonna get out of this, and it's if we all do this together, and we all have to fight this. We get that fantastic bit there. We get the fantastic bit with Stellan Skarsgård in that episode as well, with him giving his speech about fighting for a sunrise he'll never see. All of that, like, stellar episode. Fantastic. It's just one episode out of 12 episodes.
That's kind of how I was with Mandalorian. It was like, there's a lot of trash to like slob through.
Yeah,
and
the
hey,
first
this is kind of cool.
Yeah, the first season is pretty well done. I do enjoy most of the first season. The second season is much more hit and miss. There's an episode here and there that's good. There's an episode here and there that's full of strange filler. And then the third season is just a complete disaster of a season. Everything just goes downhill. And then you get it's not a matter of, oh, there's a good episode here and there. There's an episode here and there that is astonishingly terrible. Like watching the episode with Lizzo in it.
I still can't believe they did that. So, like, the very first episode of Mandalorian, there was Brian Posehn, I think, the comedian, showed up as like a land speeder driver, and that was totally bizarre to me, and I hated it. So then they did Lizzo and Jack Black, and I was just like, done.
And Christopher Lloyd is in the same episode.
Oh, really? Yeah. See, I didn't watch that season at all.
They totally wasted Christopher Lloyd. I felt really
totally
bad
wasted.
for him.
Yeah, it was completely wasted. It was sad. The Lizzo and Jack Black. Oh my god! And that's also the episode that introduces the idea that apparently, when droids are off the job, they go to the bar and socialize and drink with each other. So apparently, droids are totally exactly like humans, and they have emotions and feelings and relationships and do stuff in their time off. Some of them use drugs, apparently. It's like, what?
Ever since Solo, which I did not watch, I've tried to watch it like 4 times in various states of sobriety, and I've never gotten past the train. Ever since they introduced that L3 character or whatever, I'm totally convinced that the people in Lucasfilm think Spaceballs and Futurama are canon to Star Wars.
Yeah. The robots
Yeah.
all celebrate Mom's Day.
Man, they ruined that franchise so
Yeah.
badly. And yeah, I think that The Mandalorian already was having a lot of problems in season 3. I mean, honestly, the first season of Mandalorian I thought was pretty good. The second season was okay, but you could already see the cracks there. They tried to cover up the cracks with some magical Luke Skywalker appearing and weird things like that. The third season, you could really tell that this thing went off a cliff. Uh, when they brought like a Bo-Katan and like she has to get the sword and he's an idiot, and the Mandalorian like is a dum dum, that was the end of it.
Mhm.
Yeah. I really don't know what audience they think they're going to draw to theaters to see the
No, they've ruined
Mandalorian and
it. They've
Grogu
complete.
movie.
They've lost all the momentum. They ruined it.
They want
It's
all the soccer moms that love Grogu.
Grogu.
And that's it too. That's exactly what I was saying to someone the other day. Is like the only people that I see that actually still care about Grogu are just like these soccer moms, middle-aged women who have like little Grogu keychains and or they got a Grogu tattoo on their shoulders. It's like no one else cares. They're done with Grogu. They're done with this show. It's a moment that's now moved on, and the thing is too that those people who have seen this show, they have Disney Plus, they've watched the rest of this show on the service they already subscribed to.
Yep.
The likelihood of getting them to go pay for a movie ticket when they could just wait 90 days and watch it on the same service they already pay for, where they've watched all the rest of the show, they're just going to watch it when it hits streaming. They're not going to care.
Nobody cares. And one dirty bird. The only way I will watch Disney Star Wars is after Elon buys Disney. I don't think he's going to buy it. I think he has other things to do.
Like go to Mars and live Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I like that. By the way, if we're already on Disney, Sean, did you get a chance to watch the trailer for Ironheart?
No.
Oh.
I saw people's reactions for it, and I was like, I'm
Oh.
good. I had to sit through the
No,
Black Panther movie like several times when I used to do quality control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they put that right in the trailer too, man. It's right in there saying from the director of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the that's not the resume that you think it is. From the director of this awful movie. So bad that my son, who's watched all of the Marvel films, has not sat through that movie. He watched like the first half hour of it. I was like, it's like this is kind of boring. Can we just turn it off?
Which one was that?
The second
Wakanda
Black
Forever.
Panther. Yeah.
That movie was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Wakanda Forever. He just said, nope. Can we just do something else? I'm like, no, I'm not going to force you to watch this.
Okay, Sean, I really want you to see this trailer. Are you ready? This is for you, Sean.
I was more happy about the Superman trailer and just skipped this one.
Hello? For real?
Welcome, Riri. In less than 3 minutes, the air in this elevator will no longer be breathable.
Oh, what is this?
Your interview. You'll suffocate and die unless you break into the device on the floor, where you'll find a gas mask. Good luck.
Screw this.
And bends steel with her bare hands. Yes. Well done.
I heard Riri Williams was a genius. So you in or out?
You got to tell her she's a genius, though, all the time, constantly.
Of course, there's hip hop. There has to be hip hop.
Gotta be.
For your greatness.
She looked angry from the start.
You are not the first genius at MIT.
Apparently, they got the dean from community college.
After my internship abroad, I want to build something undeniable, something
Important.
iconic.
I can give you the tools to help
Iconic.
you carry out your vision. But anyone who's ever accomplished anything iconic in life has had to do some questionable things to get it done.
That sounds questionable.
What will you do, Riri?
You've bitten off a hell of a lot more than you can chew. I could chew a lot.
That's the important dialogue.
You know
I
nothing
can
about
chew
this man.
a lot.
You're gonna end up dead or in jail.
This is so much bigger than that.
Punching the front of a car move in every single movie.
This is wild. A shady bunker.
My bunker's not shady. Would a shady bunker have that on the wall?
Is that on
It's
Solo?
literally above a crate of self-guided missiles.
I'm returning those.
Kind of looks like the actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you excited to see this show, Sean?
Mm-hmm. She looks like miserable.
Yeah.
Like it'd be one thing if you cast someone that looked like they wanted to be there and was having fun, but her character is off-putting from the very start.
Well, I've been saying this since the minute this trailer came out. First time I watched it, it's Disney Marvel's Robin Hood.
Nice.
That awful show. Like, yeah, this is their version of that, where she's going to be amazing, and they're going to have their crew together, and they're going to go make things right and steal from the rich to, you know.
I got the impression that they're all criminals, and then she's gonna like break away from it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
And then have to stop them. And the dude from the last terrible Transformers is going to be the main bad guy, the one with the mustache, saying,
I mean,
"You have to do
the one
questionable
who's
stuff."
white, that one.
Is he?
I have something interesting. I want to give a shout out.
We would have to have white people as the bad guys.
Oh.
I want to give a shout out to Master of the TDS, who's a friend of the channel. He actually found this video that I guess they forced Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox to do a reaction video to the Ironheart trailer. And it feels like they couldn't care less. The faces they're making is, we just got to check and we have to do what it is that we're being asked to do. They don't seem enthusiastic, and like it seems really phony, even though I like these guys.
We are at the studio right now shooting Daredevil Born Again season 2. Have you watched this?
Yeah, we're about to watch the trailer for Ironheart. I've actually seen what's there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Ryan Coogler.
Hello?
Angela Barnes, who we're working with now.
Yeah, the second block. Yeah.
For real?
Oh, I love that.
Oh, boy.
What is this?
Oh, I love that.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
I heard Riri Williams was a genius.
Nice.
So,
I love that.
You are not the first genius at MIT.
You've bitten off a hell of a lot more than you can chew. I could chew a lot.
He has a big mouth.
Bigger than that.
Wicked. Wait, I want to see that again. Nice. Great.
Yeah, we've never seen them punch a front of a car before.
Yeah,
Or hammer.
it's the same move in every freaking thing.
They
now.
seem so awkward. They seem
yeah.
so awkward. Like they
What are we
did
supposed
not.
to say? This looks like crap. They can't.
They
What does
can't.
this have to do with
No, they
Daredevil?
They were asked to do a favor here, and they did their favor, and they did the best they could. They didn't. I know that they didn't think that was good. I didn't believe they're good actors, but not that good. I didn't believe them.
They let the cat out of the bag about season 2 of the Daredevil show, because apparently the director who directed this piece of garbage is also directing that. So great.
Yeah, we're in for a real treat. If you like this trailer, now we're going to see more like of this kind of thing in Daredevil Born Again, which is what everybody wanted.
I like that she's like, I want to make something iconic, and she just makes another Iron Man power suit.
Initially, by the way, in this, they showed like a trailer at some convention. Initially, this same trailer had an additional sentence that she says, I want to make a suit that's even better than his, meaning like, better than Iron Man or something like that. And after people were poking fun at this leak that somebody had, like an audio leak or whatever it is, they removed the sentence from the trailer. So it no longer suggests that she wants to outdo Tony Stark.
There's also a scene in there they cut away real quick. You see that she activates some sort of hologram. Did you see that?
I didn't. What is it? What hologram? I would go back, but why don't you just tell me?
Well, there's a scene where she activates a hologram. You can't quite tell what it is, but we do know that from the comics that had Riri Williams in it, that she is more or less she's mentored by a hologram of Tony Stark.
Oh wow, is that really a thing?
Yes, in the comic book.
No, but in this thing, they're going to have Robert Downey Jr. is going to appear in this crap? I don't think so.
No idea. I don't have a clue. In the actual shot itself, it does not look like the hologram is RDJ. It looks like it's somebody else. Maybe it's her mom or something. I don't know. But here, I bet I can pull it up. Here we go. You don't get to see the whole thing. They kind of cut away right before. So I don't think it's RDJ. You can she's activating this hologram here.
I thought she was scanning someone. That makes sense.
It shows up from the ground up. You can
tore up from the floor up.
Yeah. So I think it's oh, there's more of the Robin Hood stuff. You're saying this is going to be the bad guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think you're right. That's going to be. It's been rumored pretty heavily that like he is going to be connected to Mephisto or somebody. Now they're saying it's going to be Dormammu, which doesn't make any sense. But whatever.
Neither of those sound like they make sense. Yeah, he looks like the
anyway
terrible bad guy stand-in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. There was something else that I saw with Ironheart. Maybe it was something that Disparu tweeted. Well, no, I can't seem to find it.
Oh well. All right.
That I guess he was saying that if you Google Ironheart, it says maybe that like you see that Sacha Baron Cohen is going to be there. Here, I found it. Maybe I didn't. I just looked at this quickly. So he wrote, so Google kind of leaks the Ironheart villain, huh?
I can't.
Oh, Sacha Baron Cohen is Mephisto.
Huh. Okay. I don't know why it makes sense to introduce him as a villain in this
stupid thing.
But okay, sure.
Are they running out of villains that they can exploit? So they're just like reaching for lesser knowns now.
I feel like the professor has disappeared.
No,
still here. My virtual camera seems to have given out. Give me a second.
No, I see you. Try to go out and come back in.
Yeah.
What's up, Sean?
Yeah, you know, nothing. The nights keep getting later.
Well, it's nice to see you here.
Yeah, man. I would be here more, but I don't get out till like 1:30 in the morning anymore.
Well, I mean, on one hand, I'm happy, and on one hand, I'm unhappy. I'm happy for you, but unhappy for us.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Is Coogler the guy that did
Black
Sinners?
Panther.
Did
He
he do
did Sinners. Yeah, he did Sinners.
Have you seen that? Do you have interest in that?
I want to see it. I just haven't gotten a chance to. I was really busy and I just didn't have time. Did you get a chance to see it?
I've seen bits and pieces, and I do want to watch it, and I do not want to watch it because I'm like, if this stinks, I'm gonna be really mad that I wasted 2 hours or whatever it is.
Have you watched anything interesting recently?
I have not had time. I feel like I'm just always at work now.
Oh.
Last thing I saw was the day the Earth blew up. With
Wow,
Daffy
that
Duck.
was already months ago.
Yeah.
You'd think that you'd get a chance to watch more stuff.
You'd think, but you like 2 days off a week, and it's like, do I really want to go back to work and watch a movie, or do I just want to stare at a wall for a while?
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's weird.
It seems to have worked itself out.
Oh. Well, it did whatever it did. It's still a bit like wobbly, but it's fine. So yeah, we did all that stuff. We went over what were our topics today, Professor. We had we did Andor and Ironheart, and then we have Ubisoft crash.
Oh yeah. Oh, their shares went down even further yesterday. Bad news. Of course, it's not really going to surprise anyone who's been paying attention to how terrible things have been going for them with some of their more recent releases all just bottoming out and being useless in the market. Nobody wants them. Nobody's paying for them. But let's see if I can share this screen. Maybe, who knows if it'll let me share things here or not.
They didn't get sold off yet.
Well, we do. Tencent bought a huge chunk of them recently. So, May 15th, shares plunged around 20% on Thursday after the French video game maker said it would burn through more cash as it devotes extra time to developing some of its titles. We have decided to provide additional development time to some of our biggest productions, CEO Yves Guillemot said in earnings statement late Wednesday, adding this should result in the release of significant content over the next 2 years. Okay, sure. The company behind the Assassin's Creed franchise said it expected to break even at the operating profit level for the year ending March 31st, 2026, with net bookings flat year on year. Let's see. Barclay analysts said they had expected Ubisoft to generate 96 million euros, $107 million of free cash, and that the operating result guidance was well below estimates. So Ubisoft then reported on Wednesday a 20.5% drop in net bookings for the year due to delayed releases and the underperformance of its leading titles. So yeah, we've seen, of course, Star Wars Outlaws was a huge bomb. That did not go over well at all. It had miserable sales. It was also plagued with bugs and all sorts of things. Honestly, there's some hilarious content out there to watch of all the Star Wars Outlaws bugs. And one of the things that was really funny about Star Wars Outlaws was there were some special things you could do in the game, little side quests you could do that would unlock certain things in the game. And it came out months later that there was not a single customer, not a single person who had bought the game and played it had bothered to do some of these quests to unlock these extra things. Like, nobody cared. Not
That's
even
sad.
somebody who was like, you get those people who are like the 100%ers. They got to get the platinum trophies. They got to get, they got to do everything completionist in the game. There was not a single person that cared enough about the game to be a completionist and unlock some of those extra things. Everyone had tapped out and did not care. So that, I mean, yeah, it was a terribly received game. You had Assassin's Creed Shadows, which of course had a huge problem back in the fall when it was planning to come out. They were getting constant negative attention from all these different areas of the internet with focusing on a black man in a game that's centered in Japan. So instead of having a central character who's Japanese, instead they pull up this one guy who was in like 4 sentences in some ancient manuscript that said, "Oh, there was a black man who was in the court of Nobunaga or whatever."
I remember hearing about that.
And they make him the central character, and then all of the controversy around that came out, that essentially the guy that came up with that character that they were focusing on, Yasuke, for Assassin's Creed Shadows, the guy who had popularized him had basically just made it all up. He had written a book, he had just made everything up, and then he had turned around and used fake identities to go and post his book as the authoritative source on this character on Wikipedia. So he had done a whole bunch of sort of, well, not sort of, very shady things to promote his book and promote this as being, God's honest truth, when it's just his book.
Yeah, but
It's
if you
not
made
real.
something up, you are going to be the expert on it.
Yeah, you make it if you're the one making up the lies, then you're the expert on the lies.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a huge problem. So they delayed the game so they could fix some problems with the game and make the game better. And of course, there were a whole bunch of wild, crazy things that they did. With changing it, supposedly they changed the mix of some of the characters and parts of the stories that they were in. But in the end, yeah, they still sold Assassin's Creed titles. It sold fairly well, but given all the money that they poured into developing it, by the time it came out, they were in dire straits. And so, yes, we did have a huge investment that was made by Tencent, so Chinese company that came in and basically said, "Okay, well, we're going to give you all this money, and you're going to give us a massive amount of the profits from all of these different big IPs that they have." And now their year over year profits were not what was expected with the market, and they're saying that next year we're probably not going to meet guidance either. And so the shares dropped nearly 20%, 19.5%. Biggest single day drop in 11 years for Ubisoft. So yeah, they are in bad shape. Hypnocrab over on Rumble saying he loves Shadows, thought it was amazing. Great. I'm glad you had fun with it. I haven't tried it, honestly, but I also haven't really played any of the games since Black Flag. I haven't really gotten. I kind of was done with Assassin's Creed at that point. I felt like it had petered out. It was just all the games were the same after that. So I haven't really played any. I did play I think a demo of the Viking one. I don't remember which one that was. But
the eternal question, which is better, pirates or ninjas?
Pirates or ninjas? I'm gonna have to go with ninjas. You're never gonna find me.
What about a pirate ninja?
A pirate ninja is going to be
a new one.
That might just be an overload. Yeah.
Listen, somebody, I was listening to like old commercials today before work, and some kid said "rad," and I was like, "Oh, rad!" I don't think I ever said rad except in reference to like a BMX movie. And then I was like, growing up, like the two big things with my brothers were ninjas and BMX bicycles.
Yeah.
And I was like, why did they never combine those two? Ninjas on bicycles
There
doing
you
like
go.
flips through the air and like sword fighting at the same
Radical.
time.
Bogus.
You know that Nicole Kidman started her career
Yes.
as a BMX specialist?
Bandit.
Yeah.
BMX bandits.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's very important information.
No doubt. Sorry.
And I'm one of the only people that actually watched this movie before anybody knew who she was.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Now do you believe in miracles?
Guess what? Miracle was being in the right place at the right time. Like getting hit by a truck.
This
Helping
was her
to produce
finest
a
work.
BMX track. It would be a miracle. Sorry, only one a day. Union rules. Now come on, Judy, do your stuff.
Behind curtains, everywhere I look.
That doesn't look like her. That looked like a stunt person.
What are you talking about? Totally her.
This was such a ridiculous movie. They really just capitalized on the BMX trend of that very moment.
Oh yeah, it was big.
BMX was a big deal. I mean, I don't blame them. This movie is just so of its time. This is so ridiculously stupid.
I've been meaning to rewatch it.
I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah.
This is Nicole Kidman at her best. This and Batman Forever. In Batman Forever, Nicole Kidman looked the best she ever looked.
Oh, she's fabulous. Yeah.
But she finally understood what she needed to do in that movie, and then she never repeated it again. And don't tell anybody, but from what I know, this is Robot Head's favorite movie in the world.
This could become a habit.
What if we can't give it up?
I just said that. I have no idea.
Is this a private pavement or is anyone invited?
Well,
I like
you know
to
what
think
they
all
say.
the
Two's
stunt
company,
double was just a really
three
skinny
gets us
guy.
talked about.
It seems like it was. It looked like a skinny guy. But yeah, that was prime Nicole Kidman.
Educating the masses.
Yeah, that was a big deal. That's what put her on the map. That, and I think she was probably like on Neighbours. You see, only people that live in Australia and me know what Neighbours is. Neighbours is this kind of like today here in the U.S. you have soap operas, but there it's like a different type of soap opera. They're like next to a beach, kind of a more beach-like setting.
I've seen Baywatch.
It's not exactly a Baywatch. It's called Neighbours. It had Kylie Minogue. It had Nicole Kidman. They did some good casting. Did some good casting there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been on for many years. I don't know if it's still on. It was on for many, many years, that show.
Yeah, so sorry to derail your Ubisoft story.
No, I was pretty much
Oh, sorry.
done.
Yeah, no, go on with
No,
Ubisoft.
I was pretty much done with that. I think the first time I remember seeing Nicole Kidman was maybe Days of Thunder, or maybe it was Far and Away.
Now I'm starting to think that maybe Nicole Kidman wasn't on Neighbours. Maybe it was just Kylie Minogue. I feel stupid now.
Oh, it is late.
What can I do? I made 2 mistakes today. Kylie Minogue was definitely on Neighbours. I don't know why I thought Nicole Kidman was on Neighbours, but I guess she wasn't. Maybe she had better things to do, like the BMX gang. Oh, well. What were you going to say, Professor? Because we're in the final stretch.
I don't remember.
Yep, I think that we're in the final stretch. Is there anything we still... Sean, you're here. You're hanging out with us. Is there something you wanted to bring up?
No, I don't know. Superman trailer is the only thing I've seen recently.
Did we watch it here?
Yeah.
We
What
watched.
were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what
Sean?
did you think about it?
I'm looking forward to it. It could be crap, but I don't really have any problems with it. And like, I know you posted about him angry and complaining, and I was like, I feel like I've sat through these kinds of conversations with a loved one, where it's like you go into the conversation with like the best spirits. Yeah, this will be fun, and by the end of it, you're like screaming at each other and arguing. I'm like, yep, that's being married.
Right. Okay, so you wrote something to me this week, and you're like, I was complaining about like angry Superman, and you're like, well, you're not married, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. First of all, I have been in relationships, and I know what it means when you get annoyed, and I
Mhm.
understand that. But this isn't a movie about me or you. This is a movie about Superman.
Yeah.
He just seemed a bit too whiny, like a little bit too whiny than what I wanted to see in that trailer.
Okay.
I
So
saw him like entering it under like the a good faith. He's like, this will be fun, and then by the end of it, he's having to defend every decision he's ever made as a person.
okay. So here I have not heard, I've only heard one other person who has the same take on that scene in that trailer that I do. And I don't know why I'm only seem to be picking this up. The only other person I've heard talking about this was our friend Emperor Goodwin. When I was watching that trailer, watching that scene, I took away something totally different from that. And I'm gonna have to wait till the movie comes out to find out for sure. But here's how I saw that scene. Okay, that everyone seems to think that she knows that Clark is Superman. And they're sitting down and she's interviewing Superman. That is not what I got from that scene at all.
You think that she doesn't know, and he's just
That
pretending?
she is sitting down. She's talking with Clark. She's going to get an interview with Superman. And she asked Clark
to stand
in for Superman. She does not know that is Super. She does not know he's Superman. She's asking Clark to stand in while she practices her interview questions. And he says, "Yes, I will stand. I'll stand in to be Superman for your questions." So she starts firing off those questions. She's hammering him with those questions. He's responding responding in a way that you would respond as the person who's in Superman's place. And I genuinely think this scene is the end of Act 1. That during this interview, she figures out that he's Superman.
That'd be cool. I have one problem: is I don't think he's wearing glasses when they're talking.
Yeah, and I think I think that they're going to have him wearing the glasses less. I think they're going to have him as Clark not wearing the glasses as much.
He didn't have the broccoli haircut though when he's standing around there.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it's just going to have to be how the scene plays out in context in the actual show. But that was what I got, was that she does not know that's Superman. She thinks it's still Clark.
That'd be a clever
and
way to do it.
Yeah, she's questioning him. She's digging at him. He's responding, and she starts to pick up on there's something here that's not right. And then eventually, she figures it out. She figures out that's Superman. So this is before she knows, before they've fallen in love, before they're sucking face and whatever that they show in the trailers, right? That this is when she discovers he's Superman.
See, I don't know about that, because the trailers have been making me feel like even from the first teaser, it feels like, because all those other superheroes are showing up and people are like, why are they there? And I'm like, it feels like a character that's 80 years old with 80 years of history, and you just opened a random comic book. And if you've ever done that, Superman's there, and then there's other characters, and you're like, I have no idea who that is. So
yeah, I think in this that Superman is going to be fairly new on the scene.
Oh, I don't.
That the other characters have been around for a while, and they've been fighting crime. I think you get all of them that are wearing those same suits. I think all of them are working for Max Lord. That's why they all have the same outfits on. They have the same, similar uniforms with similar colors. They're all working for Max Lord, and then there's some stuff that goes down, and Superman shows up, and Max Lord is going to be pissed, and they're going to be pissed that he's kind of stepping on their, on their gig of fighting the giant kaiju. Or I also think the kaiju is probably right out of the gate. I think that happens like right at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. I really liked what's his face as Lex. I like that he's like.
I think he's working well as Lex. I
Yeah,
don't have a problem with him there.
he basically has a
yeah.
line that's like Superman's taking all the attention, and I'm like, yes, yeah, you narcissist. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel it's. Don't get me wrong. I want to like it when it comes out. I'm going to go see it, and I want it to be a good movie. I'm not just sitting there like those two old people in the Muppets, hoping that it's bad. I'm not. I'm rooting for it to succeed. But anything I've seen until now in the trailers has seemed just like sort of whatever. Like there's nothing I looked at it and I thought to myself, man, I'm really excited about this. The trailers actually are getting me less excited. If you would have just slapped a logo on a poster and they written, "You'll believe a man can fly," and then like you have like the logo, I probably would have been now more excited than I am after seeing the trailers.
I don't know.
I didn't. I'll be honest. I'm still very 50-50 on this. I'm going to be there to watch it day one. I want this to be a good film. So far, I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it. I do want it to be good. I really do. But I just don't know. Just don't know yet.
I think Script Doctor said something along the lines of DC fans hating. I could be misquoting him. Hating DC stuff until after they leave the theater, and then they love it. And I feel like that might be kind of accurate. Because like it just made me think of when people were screaming their heads off that Michael Keaton was going to be Batman, and now he's like revered.
Mm-hmm. I don't particularly have a problem with him in the role. I want to wait and see how it actually plays out, like how the character actually plays out.
Yeah. I liked Superman Returns. I know there's problems with it, but I still like it. And I like Man of Steel. People have problems with that. And I'm like, whatever. So I'll probably still like this as long as it's not like crammed full of modern garbage. I think he's a good Superman. I like that one. Like, no one's ever going to be Christopher Reeve again, but I like him. I like Lois. And I like the kid I can never remember the name of that plays Lex.
Nicholas Hoult.
Yes.
Yep. Well, I think that's about it for tonight, Price.
He's already in bed.
Yeah.
No. I'm still here. I was trying to see if
brushing his teeth.
If Nicole Kidman was ever on Neighbors, because it really annoys me that I thought that she was. I'm very embarrassed again. What was my other mistake?
Bigot on Socialist Media says you got the Neighbors theme song
stuck
in his head.
Neighbor, oh, you gotta something. Neighbors. Oh, yeah, I can't remember. Good neighbors. Something like that. A little understanding. That show's been on for like a million years. I don't know if it's still on. A lot of, Australian actors, that's sort of their, at least it used to be like a way to get into the industry. You'd be on Neighbors. That would be considered a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Neighbors, everybody needs good neighbors with a little understanding. That's the best I can do in the middle of the night. This is as close as you're going to get to that stupid theme song.
So
anyhow,
I do. Yeah, Kylie Minogue, Margot Robbie.
Right, I knew. I guess
Russell
not Nicole
Crowe,
Kidman or Margot Robbie. Yeah, you're right.
Guy Pearce, Chris and Liam Hemsworth.
Yep.
Ben
absolutely.
Mendelsohn.
Yep, a lot of people that are like legitimate actors had to be on that stupid show. It's like a rite of passage. Somebody wrote that Russell Crowe was on Neighbours. I believe it.
Yeah.
It's like the dumbest Australian soap opera type of crap, yet it used to be like a breeding ground for legitimate actors. Really, really strange stuff.
It's like the Harvey Company of Australia.
Do you mean Harvey like Harvey W?
Yeah, I didn't want to say it.
Yeah, no. But I think there, instead of like, doing naughty things with Harvey W, you just go and you're on this stupid show.
And it's just as soul crushing. I don't know.
I feel like probably being on Neighbours is a better experience. I assume.
Let's hope.
Let's hope, yes. Okay, I want to say goodbye to people. Elizabeth Quince, Bigot on Socialist Media. Elizabeth Quince and Bigot on Socialist Media. I believe you're both on Rumble. I think you're subscribers.
Yeah,
I really appreciate
channel subscribers. Yeah.
Really nice of you. Thank you, guys. I see that when you comment now. I see that comes up that way. So thank you very much. We appreciate that. One Dirty Bird, Murrockstra, Dude Bro Seth 420, Phantom Monk, Double R Star, Hypno Crab, DK Fats, The Real Sean Crummel, who's here. I feel like there was more on the YouTube side, wasn't there?
Yeah, of course there was. We got, of course, our mod Adam Gray was here this evening. Ace
Thanks,
Hanlon, Badfoot, Barbara Lawrence, Babs. Hey there. Thanks for hanging out.
Hey.
Caleb Levine, DJ Play Nice, Dave C popped in for a few minutes here. Good to see you, Dave. E. Clay Thomason, Empress NM, General Grievous, Isaac 556X45. Jeanette, good to see you, Jeanette. Jonathan
Bonjour,
Conroy,
Jeanette.
Kelly Hans, Marla Sharondoff, a friend of the channel. Good to see you, Marla. Marks47, Murrockstro, also over on YouTube. Read by Nature, Robot Head popped by for just a little bit. It's nice to see a Robot Head. Ryzen, Sean Green, The Dead Man, also the real Sean Crammel, also over on YouTube. The Tweaky Kid, love that name. That's great. Don't remember seeing you around, Tweaky. Good to see you tonight. Tim Hayes, Tracy Alexander, Yitis, and Zun RJ5. I don't know how to say that one. Zun RJ5. I think that's good as I'm going to get. But yeah, if we missed anybody, sorry. Glad to have you here. And those of you who might just be hanging out and just listening, we appreciate it. And those who are catching it on the rewatch, we appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you to everybody that was here. This is the Night Owl, and we do this every Tuesday and Thursday at 11:45 p.m. Eastern. And we will see you here next week on Tuesday. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thank you, and good night.
Sorry, Sean.
Sorry, Sean.
Sorry,
Bye.
Sean.
Oh, no. It didn't let me end the stream.
Oh, no.
We're going to be ending the stream forever. Guys, we're here. We can't leave. Let me see if I can do something else.
You may have to back out and come back in. Maybe.
Oh, you know what? Maybe I'll do that. All right, guys, I'm going out and coming back in. Let's see if this works.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, are you ready? We're going to try it now.